Yes. Tokyo Tower. So delicious. No match. Your mecha is no match for mighty Kyle'Zilla.
Did Kyle fall asleep watching anime in the studio?
Yeah, he sleeps like an angel.
As in a code blue angel?
No, I mustn't run away. Oh, unfamiliar ceiling.
Ohio.
Wait, I'm back? I was Kyle'Zilla. How did you turn me back?
Kyle'Zilla? We can't be sued for saying that, right?
Dude, grab your scripts. We got to do the show.
Huh, it was all a dream.
Or was it?
Well, yeah, it was. Launch the Ava.
Ava launch!
Tetsuo! Kaneda!
Onita?
It's over 9,000! Nani?
Configure the language logic interface for Japanese.
Wi-Fi.
Kawaii-Fi.
Kawaii-Fi Radio!
Konnichiwa, and welcome to a new episode of Kawaii-Fi Radio, the podcast where we look into the world of anime, manga, and all things in between. I'm your host, Kyle, and joining me are my crazy co-hosts, Coco and Kenny. How you doing, guys?
Howdy doody.
We're good.
Yeah, just good.
I answered Kenny just then. I'm not crazy. How can you call me crazy?
Just a little bit.
Like this. Crazy.
Now, we've got a jam-packed show because it is a season in review, but
dear.
on the note of season in review, we had to quickly find a certain anime that we had completely forgot about to watch.
Yeah, it completely fell by the wayside. We had so much on our plate. I still haven't caught up with you guys on a bunch of things. And then we just sort of realized that Carole and Tuesday, the one thing that we were absolutely looking forward to this season, we hadn't seen a single second of it. Oh, gods.
Now, there is a caveat here because Carole and Tuesday is very difficult to find. It's due to its licensing agreement for Netflix Japan. We managed to track down a few episodes online on YouTube, of all places.
Thank you, YouTube.
Yep, we're not going to mention who got them, but we didn't do anything.
We just watched it, man.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Beautiful.
Admittedly, I'm very biased on this because coming from a musical background, and we'll go more into the show itself, but needless to say, once we get the full thing internationally released, I'm going to binge that.
In the words of Poison's Bret Michaels, stunningly beautiful.
We never say that in the studio.
That's coming from Coco's background of watching some very trashy TV.
Oh yes, I'm not proud of it, but I'm not going to hide the fact that I love me some good, nasty, manky trash.
We all have our little vices and we all have our tastes. Random segueing into it, Kyle, you've been looking at something which neither me nor Coco have any idea of.
Yeah, Grimoire of Zero.
Tell us more.
I saw the zero and the RE in the Japanese styling and thought it was related to ReZero.
Oh gosh.
It is not.
Is it like better? Like, will it leave you not feeling like you want to, like, end it all? Like ReZero does?
Both is good.
That is my answer.
Oh, wow.
So Grimoire of Zero came out, I think, about 9 to 12 months ago, and it's sitting there on my to-watch list and just never got around to it. And then one night, I couldn't sleep, and I decided, you know what, I'm doing some stuff for work. I'll put this on in the background and have a watch while I'm doing it. And it's not an isekai. It is a fantasy setting. You have a witch, and you've got a main character who is, I guess you'd call him, I think they call them Beastborn. I can't remember. It was over a week ago since I binged through it late at night.
His parents were into illegal
No.
practices.
So his parents were human, but it seems there's a curse which occasionally occurs on newborn children where they are turned into beast men, if you will. So this particular guy has been turned into a white tiger humanoid. He's super big. He's very fluffy.
So
Lots of jokes around that.
Half tiger, half white, half human.
I'm
sorry,
sure
I'm
there's
just
a.
making
I'm
a bad
sure.
pig joke here. Sorry.
I was going to say, I'm sure there is a joke in there. I'm not going to do it. But it's actually been quite good.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised. So the overarching story is this guy is actually out hunting witches because everyone believes that the curse on children turning into beasts, which happens very occasionally, is because of the witches.
Okay.
It's not. And he accidentally stumbles across a witch who isn't trying to kill him. And I guess shenanigans ensue.
As they often do in anime.
It's I don't want to give too much away. Either way, let's just say that the witch pretends to be his slave, and he's obviously going around being a witch hunter, which gets him in most places, without them actually realizing there is a witch right by his side the whole time. And some of the inventive phrasing they use to get into certain areas is not PG. I was quite surprised to see that. I thought this was definitely an all-ages friendly anime. It is not. Probably more in the M15 plus bracket. But it is highly amusing, to say the least.
Well, that does sound pretty good. We're going to have a watch of it.
We will.
I can do it for a good laugh.
It's not going to be a ReZero, though.
No, it's absolutely nothing to do with ReZero.
You know how I feel about it.
Yes, I do. So let's talk. So this episode is time for a season in review, and the spring season is done and dusted. So we've got returning franchises to short form series, and we'll be looking at the shows that have caught our eye and what we thought while we were watching them.
And we'll give them arbitrary ratings as well.
Yeah, which mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Everything's made up and the points don't matter.
Exactly. Now, we won't be able to cover everything, and there were shows that we did intend to watch and didn't get around to, which some we'll mention at the end. Others, we watched the first episode and were really disenfranchised or just didn't grab at all. So we'll obviously leave them. And it'll give you a good cross-section of what kind of has been the big hitters this season, because most of the stuff that is done well has, as turns out, resounded pretty well with us. And on the note of big hitters, Neon Genesis has finally landed on Netflix internationally. It's giving anime fans a chance to watch a show that's defined a generation, but the Netflix version is not without its problems, and that's something we'll get into after the news.
Making headlines.
Really?
Sort of.
Anime news.
Cells at Work wins a Magnolia Award, and a fourth season of Food Wars is on the way. This is Kawaii-Fi anime news. The first 10 minutes and 40 seconds of Studio Kara's fourth and final Shin Evangelion film will be screened at the Japan Expo event in Paris on July 6th, according to its distribution partner, Toei. The video will show the introduction scenes up to the film's title card and is part of a string of showings internationally on July 6th, including LA's Anime Expo. The previews are part of an event called Operation 0706, which ties the upcoming Shin Evangelion films in with a new free app called Ava Extra, due out on July 1st. The app will provide information on the operation along with in-depth information on the program and franchise, and any new news from the series itself. Anthropomorphic Cells anime, Cells at Work, has taken home the Best Storytelling Award at China's Magnolia Awards this month. The Shanghai Television Festival was held on June 18th and had to beat the past 12 months of animated shows to take home the award. The second season for the show is in the works, but no details around its release date have been announced at this stage. With season shows coming to their end, several have made announcements on their futures. The final episode of Otherworld crossover anime, Isekai Quartet, announced the show will be receiving a second season, with 12 12-minute long episodes already aired. Another short-form anime, Yatagame-chan Observation Diary, has also announced the second season is in the works through the show's official Twitter. And the website of Midnight Occult Civil Servants has announced a 2-episode OVA is in the works with a September 25th release date. However, we may be waiting for the anime Blu-rays to release before we sit in the rest, as it will be exclusively streamed on Japanese cable service Hikari TV. A fourth season of cooking battle anime, Food Wars, has been announced this fortnight, with the show due for release in October this year. Officially titled Shikeku no Shoma. Oh, come on, guys.
We just want to psych you out. I want to go at reading the news.
All right.
So this is what this is all about.
All right. Next time. Right. Please let me finish the news. We will discuss this at length. All right. Apologies. So, a fourth season of cooking battle anime Food Wars Shokeko no Soma has been announced this fortnight, with the show due for release in October this year. Officially titled Shokeko no Soma Shin no Sara, or The Fourth Plate, the series announcement was revealed in Weekly Shonen Jump magazine's 29th issue, the same issue the manga's final chapter was released. Along with Season 4 announcement, 3 extra chapters for the manga were announced to run in the monthly Jump Giga, starting on July 27th. Titled Le Dessert, the chapters are expected to finish wrapping up the story, hopefully tying up a few loose ends. And it might be almost 20 years too late, but Studio Ghibli's Spirited Away has seen its first ever release in Chinese mainland cinemas. The film took the #1 spot at the box office with 195 million won, or $285 million take over its opening weekend, ranking above Toy Story 4, which opened the same day. It's the second Studio Ghibli film to be released in Chinese cinemas following the 30th anniversary release of My Neighbor Totoro in 2018. Spirited Away is the only non-English animated feature to win the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. In dub news, Hibiki Euphonium's third movie has revealed its English voice cast, with much of the series' voice cast reprising their roles. The all-star voice cast includes Erica Mendez, Laura Post, Christine Cabanos and Lucine Dodge, and will be heading to the US cinemas from July 15th, with the subtitled Japanese version hitting on July 11th. And saving the best till last, the July issue of Katakawa's Shonen Ace has revealed wrestling isekai manga series Kimono Michi will be receiving an anime adaptation in October this year. The manga follows masked wrestler Genzo Shibata, who likes all kinds of animals and creatures. One day, he's summoned to another world, where a princess asks him to help kill magical beasts, but he gets mad and puts her in a German suplex. Unable to get back to Earth, he decides to live a peaceful life and manage a monster pet stop. The manga was launched in 2016 and is written by Natsumi Akatsuki, the creator of Konosuba. And that's your anime news for the week ending June 30, 2019.
Oh,
A German suplex.
Yeah.
shut up and take my anime monies
Oh
now.
my god.
That sounds amazing.
Did you say he goes back to Earth?
No, he tries to and he can't, so he sets up a pet shop for monsters.
This is a pro wrestler.
Yep.
Like
A
like
Japanese
a luchador.
Well, he does
A
wear a mask actually. Yeah, in the
Lucha
pictures.
trained
Yeah.
pro Japanese wrestler.
Oh, this is amazing.
Yeah. So the manga's been running since 2016. It looks hilarious. I've put off reading it when I found this out.
I mean, I only really got into wrestling because you guys introduced me to the Japanese World Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
And, now all I can think of is just that kind of randomness with Konosuba insanity. And
All I'm imagining is because, I mean, if you haven't watched Japanese pro wrestling, there's some
should.
pretty interesting characters in there, such as Cheeseburger.
Yes.
and-
He's Ring of Honor.
Is he Ring of Honor now?
Yes.
Ah.
But let's
And
shout
evil.
out to Cheeseburger. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Sonata and
E-
Evil.
yeah,
Who come into the
and-
stage going, everything is evil.
And I know his name.
What, the Rainmaker?
No, the guy with the hair. The
oh,
guy with
Takahashi?
yes, Tanahashi.
Tanahashi.
Oh boy, that
yeah.
man.
That man has better hair
He's-
than anyone.
Seriously,
Ever.
you
Because
think
he's
you
worth
have
it.
good hair days? You don't. This guy has them all.
He has all of them.
So basically all of that in an anime with adorable monster animals
Yes.
Ah.
Sounds good, doesn't
after
it?
suplexing
Oh.
a princess.
That I believe at this point it's expected to land in October. We'll see if that's correct or not. That's what the
please
release I
land
found
earlier.
said.
That
Please
is
stop
brilliant.
trying to trip me up during news reading. I will let you read the news soon.
I just
Okay,
want
go.
a go.
You can have a go. All right, we'll come to that. And apologies, listeners. Sometimes it's a bit hard when. You know, your co-hosts are waving flags in front of you
It
and putting
wasn't
anime figurines in suggestive positions.
I just put my torch on.
Yeah, and shine it in my eyes. All right, what could possibly
I
go
did
wrong?
Not do that.
You totally did.
Everyone who's listening, you can just ignore him because he's just
Anyway.
he just wants to keep the news to himself.
Is that sexy anime figure yours, Coco?
Probably not. No.
Um.
Not at
Oh,
all.
but yeah, Spirited Away
Yeah.
in China.
Yeah.
Like,
Of all places.
I mean, no,
It's- I mean, I can understand why it had such a massive opening.
Oh, yeah.
Because of course everyone knows about Spirited Away.
But the thing is,
even
you can buy it on, back alley DVDs there, so it's not like people haven't seen it.
but I
Yeah.
mean, the whole idea of it taking out the top spot in front of everything else that's in cinema at the moment, that is just. I feel like that's simply a testament to Miyazaki's
Totoro did
work.
as well.
Really?
Yeah.
that doesn't surprise
Yeah.
me. It's kind of like when you've got films that you've only ever seen on your television screen and they are suddenly re-released in the cinema, like Star Wars
Of
or Back to the
course.
Future, and you're like, oh
yeah,
my
'cause,
gosh,
like,
I'm getting there.
I mean,
I'm
I went to
gonna
see
go
Back
watch
to the Future when they had that re-release in the cinemas, and because we grew up well after it was in the cinemas,
Oh, gosh,
so
Star
that that
Wars too.
experience was amazing.
It's so worth it. It's so worth it. I just remember when I went to see, because I went to see all 3 of the original Star Wars back to back, and the bit where it's late at night, I'm losing my words. I know them; they're there. But you know the bit where he goes through that
The trench
place?
run?
Yes, the trench run. Yes.
Yes.
See, I know this. Yeah. The trench run on a big screen is incredible.
Oh.
Incredible.
I'm also imagining there's probably a lot of people yelling "Don't do it" and stuff during it as well.
Oh yeah. People get into it. It's great.
Yeah. And Neon Genesis, which we are going to talk about in a moment, but the first 10 minutes of the 4th film to be aired on the 6th of July
That
in
is
multiple locations around the world.
Quite a tease, isn't it?
I'm really hoping this app they're talking about will actually let you watch that 10 minutes.
Me
Because
too.
otherwise I'm going to be really
Do
annoyed.
you reckon the servers are going to get overloaded?
Oh, yeah. Straight away.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. I've been waiting, because this was going to come out in 2014. Like, that's 5 years ago. And it's not coming out till next year. And it was meant to be originally like 2006, 8, 10, and 12.
But it seems like,
And
I
that
know,
didn't happen.
seems to, I mean, it's quite an emotional undertaking for him, isn't it?
Well, I mean,
The-
he
all
said
of
the
this.
reason he stopped and went to do Shin Godzilla was because of how draining the actual filming
Yeah.
and writing process
And
was.
I
to
know
be
how
hon-
that can be. It's
Yeah.
intense.
And watching those films was draining, to be honest. Like, not
Especially the third one,
to say-
because everything goes completely
the
off the wall.
third one.
It's an emotional roller coaster. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, if you've watched the original Neon Genesis, you know what it's like. But then you get to, I think it's like
Times it by 5.
like the 15th angel or something, and then they go completely off on a completely different tangent and do a time
Yeah,
jump. It's
things
pretty
get
impressive.
metaphysical.
They do. Well, yes, with that in mind, let's talk about Neon Genesis.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
I think I watched that as a kid.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Back Catalogue.
Yes, and this time it's Neon Genesis Evangelion.
The one you've been waiting for, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This
so
one.
Neon Genesis was my gateway drug into the world of anime. and
Oh,
I was
was it?
about 15, and it was on after my Taekwondo training sessions, and I actually learnt about it because the only other guy in the group who was my age told me about it.
Ah.
And then I started
it
watching
SBS?
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Late night on our
SBS.
multicultural channel here. And it really introduced me to it. At
I
15,
really
it was great.
wish that I'd caught it
Mm.
on TV when it was on.
'Cause
I think
I was going to say you caught it a few years later when it was out on, I think, on DVD or on another channel.
it was DVD that I watched it because I went out of my way to watch it because I'd heard about this.
Yeah.
I'd never actually seen it, so I had to go. I went to Planet Video, and that's where I found it.
Yeah, and obviously we've got the other end of the scale, which is you, Kenny, who you didn't see much of it till recently.
For years I had seen the toys and stuff and just not really given much thought. I'd seen pictures and stuff in random comic books as ads. And
It's always referred to, isn't it?
it's constantly referred to. It has just infiltrated every aspect of anime and pop culture to some degree.
Well, I mean,
And,
it says a lot when you actually. I noticed this, and I think I mentioned it a couple of episodes ago. But I was reading an old one of the Marvel comics on their, you know how they do like the backlisting of all their old mangas on their comics online. I was reading Fantastic Four, and they had an Evangelion Unit 1 sitting in the kids' toy crate. I'm like, this is
Wow.
like
As you do.
99. What on earth is going on here?
Yeah, so it was when I actually only moved up to the city and was living out of my sister and her roommate's place for a few days that he had the box set of Evangelion, and I caught the first 6 episodes of it, and I was just like, whoa, okay, what's this?
Now, I mean, Neon Genesis, to give you some background, it was released in Japan and it ran from
95?
October 4th, 1995 through till March 27, 96. So 26 episode run. It's both critically acclaimed and very controversial because of the way some of the themes are addressed.
It's quite cult.
Yeah,
cult following
it's got
as
a very
well.
strong cult following. And it was created by the anime fan studio Gainax. Now, Gainax was set up by literally a group of people who loved anime and said, we want to make anime. And they were all like artists and graduates, and they just did it. And
Inspiring, yeah.
It's grossed over 150 billion yen, which is approximately 1.2 billion US dollars since its release. Now, it's set 15 years after an apocalyptic event called the Second Impact, and Neon Genesis follows the story of Shinji. He's a 14-year-old boy estranged from his narcissistic and sociopathic father, Gendo. Gendo runs a government organization, the perfect place for a sociopath, called Nerve. Now, it's actually, I only just realized this after, 25 years of watching it, that it's actually, all the names are based off Germanic names. So it's not Nerve, it's Nirv.
Nirv? Okay.
Yeah, because the previous, I'm probably sure I've botched that pronunciation, but the previous entity that the organization was a German word as well.
Oh.
So
Okay.
there's some continuity there to do with Germanic.
Okay.
And we'll come to this in a moment. But Gendo's agency is tasked with preventing the third impact, which they believe could be caused the end of the world and all life remaining on it, much to life being killed.
They believe it's imminent, don't they?
They do. Now, the first impact is the dinosaurs. And I'm going to learn you something, which is going to make watching Neon Genesis much easier. So, this is never explicitly said, but it is shown on screen. There are 2 locations which are underground chasms in the Neon Genesis anime. One of them is in Antarctica, one of them is underneath Tokyo 3. These are the seeds of life that have been planted on Earth. There is only meant to be one seed on Earth, thus the conflict.
Ah.
So if one seed breeds humans, say, what does the other seed breed out?
Angels, which is what the big
this.
villains are. Now, this has never been written in canon, but it has been found in 3 interviews with Anno.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Now, of course, when you say angels, I don't suppose you're talking about the fluffy winged creatures that look very, very pretty.
No, we're talking kaiju-esque sort of thing. So the show opens with Shinji being asked by his father to come to Tokyo 3 to visit him. And, he's been estranged from his father. His father's
For years,
bit of
like about 10 years, I'd say.
He's a bit of a how's
very
it
young.
going? And
Yeah.
his father essentially...
He summons him.
Yeah, he
doesn't
summons him. And when Shinji arrives, a colossal monster called an angel is attacking the city. And Misato, who is like the main female guardian for Shinji throughout the series, rescues him from it tromping on, I think it was a helicopter, and takes him to the Nerve base underneath the city.
It's great timing, really.
Very convenient timing. Who would have thought? So his father essentially forces Shinji to pilot a giant bioorganic robot to fight this enemy, essentially through guilt.
Manipulative.
Yeah,
to a
very
fault.
manipulative. And that's where the story begins. Now, it starts off as just, your classic big, robot versus giant monster anime, but it gradually introduces a lot of different subtext. So there's a heavy use of Christian idiomisms and,
It seems
there's
as
a
well like this. There's a lot of Kabbalistic and Jewish influence as well, and it also appears from the get-go that this Evangelion, this massive robot, isn't just a robot.
Mm-hmm. And we won't obviously spoil it because there's going to be a lot of people who haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And that is for the past decade, I can use my words good. Getting a hold of the series legally was borderline impossible. And that was, unless insane amounts of money was no objective, say, a month's rent. And I mean, a lot. So the DVD set retailed for hundreds of dollars here in Australia when it was in print. And I had to order it in specially, and that was when I was working for a DVD hi-fi company back in 2009. And even as staff, it took months to find the copy.
Wow.
So not good. So in 2008, the rights holder ADV America went under. They were the one who did the original dub and original sub and distribution of it. And the only copies you could find were being resold by people online, typically at a markup of over 200%. And you couldn't be sure what you were getting was genuine either.
That checks out.
So that's why this series is so hotly anticipated to come on Netflix. And we'll come to the Netflix part of that in a moment. But back to the show itself. It's...
I think all of us can recommend you watch it.
Yeah.
It's very worth it.
It's now something I think needs to be said because there are some very diehard Evangelion fans out there. You don't have to like it. It's bloody confusing.
Like Coco said before, it's cult. There are the people outside of the cult will look at it and just think, huh? Whereas the people in the cult will rave about it. It is their baby. They love it to pieces and will defend it to the death.
However, be prepared to be incredibly confused for the last 3 episodes if you do get through. They ran out of budget.
And that was something I wanted to mention last episode about Gurren Lagann, that glorious anime.
Just to clarify, Neon Genesis was made by Gainax. Gainax also made Gurren Lagann about a decade after.
Exactly. And there is a fun little tidbit of information that 40% of Gurren Lagann's budget was reserved for the last 3 episodes because
Neon Genesis.
they learned their lessons.
But the show gradually introduces lots of different characters. You get to see interactions between them, and
they're all very different.
They are. And, I mean, this is kind of one of those starting points of the whole best girl argument as well, because you've got Rei, who is one of the female protagonists, who's very quiet, very reserved, very
stoic.
She's very traditional Japanese, like the ideals that they had for what a traditional Japanese woman would be, going back to the period of the geisha, where they were very quiet but very stoic. And then you've got Oscar, who's German, and the polar opposite.
Fiery, redhead, passionate, and
belligerent.
And then there is a pretty big cast of characters, but those are the main. I guess you could say 5 or so that are the main focus.
And those 2 characters that Kyle just mentioned are also pilots.
Yes,
and that's the thing about the main character Shinji is that he is not an idealized person.
No.
He's not terribly macho. He, when he's told by his lunatic father that he has to pilot this robot and save the city from a monstrous thing, he doesn't want to. It's like, cool, giant robot, but
I'm 13 and you're telling me to go fight for my life.
And has
14.
got depression because he was abandoned by his father, who now just says, do this, I'm just going to use you.
You are a tool.
Yeah.
For me to use.
You could be mistaken for thinking that Shinji is a wimp, but no, he's simply just a scared, lonely teenager.
And I mean, there's a lot of memes on the internet saying, get in the damn robot, Shinji. And while I fully appreciate that feeling, it's also that's kind of the point. He's young, he's a child, really, and he has no concept of what responsibility or power actually means because he hasn't ever associated with it. He doesn't even know what love is.
Exactly.
It's a real all of the get in the robots I feel a really crude way of looking at his character because
it's essentially the anime version of what's that classic English meme that everyone makes? It's on the poster. And keep calm and carry on. It's like, no, you don't keep calm and carry on. There's a giant bloody monster outside off to kill you.
Especially when you've never been trained for it, especially when you're a child, especially when you're...
It's a lot to throw at someone.
Especially when it's only got an 0.0000001% chance, or as they call it, the 09
as well as
percentage chance of activating.
Clinically depressed. And also, has anyone here seen this film called The Abyss? You know that scene with the rat where they put it into the oxygen?
Liquid oxygen. Ooh. Yep, so that's a thing to actually pilot the robot. You are immersed in liquid LCL, liquid something fluid.
Anyway, you have to breathe fluid. So at 14, would you feel up? I don't even feel up for that now.
So I do feel like that the whole story of Shinji and the way he behaves is, to be honest, pretty understandable.
It's perhaps what a typical person of his age and his background would behave. That's what I like about the other characters as well. You can pick up on why they would behave that way.
And so when Shinji starts to basically go into trauma, starts basically getting like really, really depressed and anxious, and just all these psychological issues start to mount upon him while he has to be forced to save the world week after week.
And it gets worse because he gets in the robot and, he wins the fight. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a series. And he goes to school. And obviously, during that fight, not everyone was safe.
Of course.
And one of the people who got injured is a relative of one of his classmates. So he gets beat up.
Yeah.
So all these events are reinforcing, him having no self-worth and that he shouldn't be doing what he's doing.
Just the poor guy.
Yeah. And, I mean, it is a great series, and it is a really interesting look at the human condition.
It's the director's own struggles.
Yeah.
A lot of it, isn't it?
Allegedly, he's refused to officially say yes or no. He's given so many different responses over the years.
You can't help but feel like, as writers put themselves into their stories a little bit in cases like that.
Oh, absolutely.
And certain experiences along those lines can be very, very vivid and very identifiable in a way.
Yeah.
Now, we do need to talk about something that's made me very unhappy, which is the Netflix release. Now, I was very excited about this until I discovered they were redubbing and resubbing the content. I've got a long spiel. I will try and keep it short. So there's been a lot of talk around the quality of the Netflix dub and sub, and I'm going to be honest, the new version, it's not great. The original dub by ADV in the 90s has charm and subtlety to the performances, and in comparison, the new version in particular feels like it has no soul. It almost sounds like a fan dub. I mean, me and Kenny were watching it and were really quite confused, and you'd only seen like 6 episodes
way back in the
ago.
day, yeah.
So it's underacted when an emotional response is needed, and there's some excessive overacting on simple things.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I said, it's a cult thing. Those that are in the cult love it. This is your favorite anime. This is your baby, and of course, so you were.
Of course, I'm going to be quite unhappy with it, but for
me,
you to be unhappy with it,
I'm something of an outsider. I'm a filthy casual when it comes to these things. But even I could tell that something was just terribly, terribly wrong with how it was voiced.
I was quite bothered by Shinji's voice.
Now, what this all comes down to is the voice actors have no chemistry at all. And it's as though they have never been taught how to voice act to someone else's performance, and like they were asked to voice the character without anyone else around. So they've got no one to bounce that conversation off.
Something of an inexperienced cast. Do you think that's the case?
Well, I mean, the cast is inexperienced, but all of them have had enough experience voice acting. I'm not familiar with a lot of their work because it's niche stuff or heavy ecchi stuff or video games that I haven't played. But I struggle with it. I mean, look, the Misato's voice actor. Here is a prime example. It's got no charisma in the performance. Like, the original Misato is quirky and
a ridiculous flirt.
She is. She's very flirty.
She'll flirt with everyone, even
the whole gag
watching.
is the outro, as well.
Yeah, saying that she's going to reveal more in the next episode.
Some fan service here and there. She sounds literally like she's just reading the lines, the new voice actress. And opportunities to build the character through moments of inner dialogue where it's showing her inner thoughts, completely wasted. And they just sound dull. It's literally, I feel like she was rehearsing lines. That's what it sounded like to me. And then don't get me started on the utterly lackluster performance for the next episode previews, because that was literal script writing. Oh, and wait, for the next episode and more fan service. Oh, I'm so excited, speaking in this monotone.
Yeah,
I mean, I really wonder if this is more to do with the director than it is the voice actors, because if they'd been getting work, they wouldn't get away with this.
Oh, and I mean, this is going to be flogging a dead horse with a broken record. But can we talk about that outro song?
Yeah. So Netflix dropped several $1 million to acquire the rights to put Neon Genesis on the big screen.
And, I mean, why not? This is something that's going to grab a lot of attention.
Yeah. Now, I would like to point this out. They dropped estimated $3 to $5 million on this. Oof. They just paid $100 million for Friends.
What? Whoa.
Yeah. $100 million. If you can afford $100 million, you can afford an extra $500.
$500 to buy the rights to the song.
Yeah. So the outro song was a cover of the classic song Fly Me to the Moon, which has been sung by people like Frank Sinatra and all that. It was covered by a Japanese vocal artist who, it was just beautiful. They have since replaced it with a creepy piano melody, which is used,
Well, it's
which
not
is
the
called.
It's not. Well,
It's very creepy. It's
love
it's
it,
used
though.
in creepy scenes. It's called Ray 2, is in based off the character Ray's name, and it's used in scenes with her which are almost alien-like scenes.
Yeah.
Unsettling.
Very unsettling scenes.
Yeah.
And they've used that for the outro. The best thing about having Fly Me to the Moon at the end, it was like a little oasis at the end of all that disaster to go, whew, and I've let go.
Yeah.
Now you don't get that.
No, you don't. You don't get released from the tension.
No.
If I may quickly talk about how much I love the music from Evangelion. It is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, one thing we can say is that they have kept the original bass track. So they haven't redubbed sound effects or music or anything like that. All they've changed is the voices, which is, a kind of...
Waste.
It was a waste, but apparently the deal did not come with the rights for the ADV voiceover, despite them being defunct.
What an
Yeah.
unusual deal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Would have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that.
Yeah, right. The composer of the all the music from this is Sagisu Shiro, who also arranged or composed music for Ranma Half, Kashin, Bleach, Attack on Titan, and Shin Godzilla.
Well, the Shin Godzilla one is very obvious.
Yes, please, everyone, watch that
Yes.
film, especially if you've watched Evangelion.
You will really get a kick out of it.
So does this guy basically just write on his contract that he will only compose music for shows which have giant monsters in them?
Or Hideo Anno.
Maybe.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so going back to the voice cast, let's be honest. Now, Shinji's character is meant to be pretty bland. That is literally the kind of defining trait of him, but he still has outbursts of emotion. Like it's it's like Placid. There's a lot going on underneath, and every now and then an eruption happens.
See, I can't agree with him being bland. He's not bland.
He's not
at all.
bland. He's not bland, but he's not very emotive.
No, but that's because you can tell that he's depressed.
Oh yeah.
And that's the
So, on that note, the original voice actor who did Shinji is still voicing Shinji for the new films.
Oh, okay.
Why did they not hire him?
How
to
much was he
redo it?
asking for?
I don't. They didn't even approach him. All of the original cast have been on
Really?
Twitter saying we were never approached.
Once again, $100 million for Friends. I feel like buying the rights to his voice
They were
relatively
never
small.
approached.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they couldn't. They said that they couldn't use the original content from ADV.
Why
Fair
not?
enough.
Just have
Rights
them re-record
agreements,
their
whatever.
lines.
Just re-record the lines and use the original script. I mean, you can literally put a DVD in and write it down. Like it's not
Yeah.
hard. But Shinji's voice actor is awful, and I'm really sorry to the voice actor who does this, but they sound generic. The performance has no emotional range, no resonance, no passion. It is awful.
And he doesn't sound enough like a boy.
They even
He
managed to
sounds a
stuff
little
up
bit
two
more-
of the most iconic lines in episode 1 as well. I mustn't run away, and I'll pilot it. They literally sounded like they were read. Like, I don't know if it's direction or the voice actor themselves. They were both delivered poorly and with no emotion or presence at all. And that's kind of a critical point. They are outbursts. They are moments where the character is meant to show raw emotion and anger.
I mean, this is a crappy situation.
Yeah.
The very existence of humanity is being threatened.
And from a narrative standpoint,
okay, I'll pilot it.
Yeah.
from a narrative standpoint, it's the defining moment of the first act. This is what starts things. This is where, the emotion should be at its peak for the first act.
So
Nothing.
Yeah, as I've said, whether this is an issue of the director or the voice actor is unclear. But it's all pretty awful. The only performances that were actually good in the first episode were Dr. Akage Ritsuko and Ikari Kendo. And that's because they didn't have too much to say.
Gendo was very similar to his original.
He was, but the script wasn't right.
No, it wasn't
He says,
different.
launch the Ava. Launch it from where? It's still submerged in, liquid. What are we going to launch it from? Like,
I mean, we launch ours, and we manage to launch ours every time we do our
our
podcast.
Ava's prepared.
Yeah, it's right there. Come on.
I mean, all I can think in this situation is, how would Gendo be if he was voiced by Mark Hamill?
Perfectly insane.
I would just.
Now-
I would be a bit scared.
I would
If you
fanboy
want to
so
know
hard.
what we're talking about, watch a scene in the first episode, whether that's the scene where Misato is looking down at her dress while in the car going, oh God, I'm in such a mess. And then rewind it and swap to the Japanese channel. for the language because they still have the original Japanese voice track.
So compare them back to back.
You can immediately see how much more emotion is there, even if you don't understand what's being said. They also this also does bring up a problem: the subtitles, because they redid them too.
Yes, exactly.
And the subtitles.
Why did they bother? They were already there.
They missed so much nuance in the Japanese language. The translation is a literal translation, meaning it's devoid of the context of the sentence and sometimes is downright wrong.
Oh no! Oh
yeah,
because
Japanese lost in translation.
So this is probably one of the biggest one everyone is griping over. They've been calling it de-gaying Evangelion, and you'll understand why in a minute.
Oh yes, I
so
heard about
quite
this.
late in the series, we're introduced to Kawaru. He's another EVA pilot who does not behave in a socially normal way. He's like a newborn child in the world with language skills already there. So this introduction happens when Shinji's at an incredibly low point. He believes he's fundamentally unworthy of love. Love being the key word here. So during this episode, Kawaru, who's only known Shinji for a couple of days, tells him, "I love you." All right? In the Netflix dub, we see and we hear,
I remember that scene.
"I like you," which Shinji reacting quite perplexed and awkward to doesn't work. Yeah. Now, what this comes down to is not even taking into account all the homosexual undertones for their interaction. This comes down to a specific translation problem, and that is the word suki, which is no directly equivalent translation in English and is pretty nuanced in its use in Japan. Now, the concepts of love and liking are defined a little differently in Japan compared to English. So while like may be the literal translation, it doesn't make it correct. So suki can mean like or love, and all things in between, depending on the context in which it's said, who or what it's said to, and a mess of other variables. When a character confesses their feelings to another, like in a love letter, they use the word suki. It has
the context for it.
Yeah. So for people who are dating, just saying suki is a pretty common way to inform the other person you like them. Daisuki, which is, I love you, which literally translates as big lovableness.
Daisuki.
Yeah. So, there's a bit of a problem there.
So do you think this could have been caused by what you said just before about the literal translation?
This is literally the problem. Pun intended. So in English, we have two possible translations, which is like and love. And that's a lot of tiers of stuff to cover with two words. And there's a bit of a gap in the middle of our meanings of like and love that don't overlap as well when you think about it. This is why we see such phrases, do you like him, as in like.
Yeah.
We don't have a word which says you like someone.
Do you like him romantically or do you like him as a platonic?
There's no single word to describe the beginning moments of love which are not as deep as true love.
And interestingly enough, in the Greek language, there's different kinds of love as well. So it exists in other languages.
It does. It's just we don't have a direct translation for it. And this particular scene's context, the context is everything. So love is the right word to use, as Kawaru doesn't fully understand its meaning, which is why Shinji reacts the way he does. Shinji wouldn't be blushing if he just said, "I like you as a person, let's be mates."
Yeah.
And there's the hand holding in a bathhouse scene with blushing. Definitely just mates. Just like him as a fella.
They're just bros. They're going to go out and get a beer and watch some footy.
This is just one of the many issues people are coming up with the new translation, which are odds at how characters react versus what is apparently said.
I liked that original scene.
I
liked it because
very nice.
It was because it was a real good hark back to when you're a teenager and you're just exploring these ideas of love and liking people, and you might have crushes on all these random different people.
Yeah.
And
it also leads up to the way Shinji feels in the episodes following and the events that following when he's talking about Kawaru. He doesn't just act as if he's just a friend. He acts as if someone who he had a deep connection with.
And that's the whole point of that scene, is that they do share that deep connection. He thinks he's unworthy of love.
And
Kawaru
being
gives
told,
him that, and that is a huge deal for someone in his
the
situation.
other line which really annoyed me is when Shinji's explaining what Kawaru said. He's in the original translation. He said he loved me. Very straightforward sentence. In the new one, he says, I'm paraphrasing here because it's really bad, but he said, I was graced by his presence, or something along those. It was the words grace and presence were in that sentence, and it's like,
I'm gonna have to watch this.
This is not right. This is nowhere near what he said.
What in the omae wa no shinderu?
Exactly. So thanks Netflix. I hate it.
But there's there's good things about Evangelion.
Yeah, well, look, I'm just gonna watch my
but
box
this
set
is,
instead.
you know,
So look,
I feel
what I
like-
can highly recommend, like if you've never seen Neon Genesis, watch it. Just be aware that the translation is a bit off.
Yeah,
you suggest-
temper your expectations for this,
Yeah.
and then if you want to see the better version, find
Yeah,
it.
it's
Yeah.
good to have a point on which to stand, and if you start with this, then at least you've got a bit of an idea.
Yeah.
And what I liked about Evangelion is that it's got a real good high rewatch value.
It does.
You always find new things in each different watch, and it's just as good to watch it like again.
So when you go into it, and this will make it easy for anyone who's never seen it before, just remember that the first impact, which is the meteor which is meant to have wiped out the dinosaurs, is the other egg landing on the planet. The second impact is us humans accidentally waking said egg up.
I wonder if there was any inspiration from the what happened with the Catholic Church a few hundred years ago.
What happened with the Catholic Church?
Well, you know
What
how
didn't
there was a
happen?
pope in the Vatican and a pope in Avignon.
Well, I mean, there
two
are a
different
lot of
popes.
Christian themes, and
Yes.
I believe I've heard that story. That's two
Yeah.
popes that
Yeah.
declared themselves popes and denounced the other.
yeah, so there's use of the Black Sea Scrolls, saying there were secret Black Sea Scrolls which were never released. This is outside the ones they decided just weren't canon, apparently. And then Dead Sea Scrolls, not Black Sea Scrolls. Dead Sea Scrolls, and then there's lots. I mean, Evangelion, Genesis.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of.
There's a lot of Christian imagery. There's a lot of religious themes to it.
Yeah.
It's
and it's not even saying Christian is not correct in this.
It's
thing.
Abrahamic.
Abrahamic,
Isn't it?
because they actually go further back before the concepts of Jesus or God. And apologies to anyone who's religious. We are talking like the core fundamentals of religion here. We're not talking about the belief system.
yeah.
We're looking. It's a really interesting look at how this can be used as a metaphor for life and existence. It's. I mean, Anno loves his postmodernism, so this is a perfect example of it.
And frankly, it's like you could look at this in the same way that you look at writing a book report for high school on Shakespeare. You could just look into the themes and stuff for Evangelion for ages and write
Yeah.
up essay after essay. I'm pretty sure the internet is full of
People
this.
have done
great.
PhDs on Evangelion's themes.
Get out.
No, I'm dead serious. There is
doesn't
a
surprise
lot
me,
of
actually.
themes. I know it was
Were you one of them?
University of Cambridge someone did a PhD there on the use of evangelical themes to portray loss. I believe it was.
Oh.
Yeah, it was quite a few years back. I remember seeing
Wonderful.
that. But there's a lot of
Good to read it.
it's really some really good stuff. So if you can get hold of the old box set, I know it's a tall order. I'd recommend watching that over the Netflix edition. But if you can't, it's still a great it's still a great story, even with their miscommunication. I'd personally recommend switching it into Japanese and watching it with subtitles.
And on top of everything else, real quick, if you're just into filming and if you're into like how shots are framed, this is wonderful because
absolutely.
there's so many there's so many times where they really show, they don't tell.
Yeah.
Like there are so many scenes where there's hardly any movement except for like someone's eye will blink and they're just sort of standing there. Yeah, it's really something. Highly recommend.
So with that, go watch Neon Genesis. Find it wherever you can. Whether that's on YouTube, I don't mind. Moving on, season in review time.
Kawaii-Fi Radio. Why do we watch that?
Definitely in my top 5.
Season in review.
Yes, and straight up, I need to apologise for recommending a few shows to you guys.
Which is what they just said.
That is exactly why I've
shows?
attached that.
Which shows did you recommend?
Wise Man's Grandchild, which should be called Philosopher's Grandson, because they took, once again, the literal translation
I really
instead of the
don't know
implied.
what it's meant to be called anymore. I've just heard too many.
Well, I mean,
of them.
this actually
It's like-
harkens back to even the first Harry Potter film, which is the Philosopher's Stone, and always has been.
And was renamed
And they
the Sorcerer's
renamed
Stone
it the
in America.
Sorcerer's Stone for America. And it's like, do you guys not know what a philosopher is?
they
I don't believe that's
do.
the case. I
Like,
believe they're dumbing
it's-
it down for their audiences, and that's not
Yeah.
okay.
No, it's not.
Rant over.
Yes.
So,
So, what are we going to begin with?
we're going to start with the short form animes.
Okay.
Yay.
There were a
And
lot this season, which is starting to become a very common trend, I'm noticing.
I'm starting to notice more and more
I
of them.
quite enjoy short form.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah. So let's start from the top. We're going alphabetical because, let's be honest, it's easier that way. Amazing Strangers. Now, I'll give you a one-line synopsis of this. It's Buddha Haruto purchases his first anime figurine, and it comes to life, attracting other living figurines into his life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit better than all right, but
Yeah, so I was worried about how this content would be handled because, and we did say at the start, this could be a little bit questionable.
I mean, it's basically some guy's fantasy come to life. You got to be honest.
Yeah.
Someone's
So
figured
you've
out
got
this.
to.
The main character comes across as a pretty plain and generic, otaku guide. He's an at-home coder, so that's a great excuse for him to rarely go out, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And more living figurines start showing up over the course of the show after his first one shows up. And I can't say really that the art is standout. It's pretty mid-range quality-wise, and it includes elements of CG for the figurines. Music, kind of similar. So it's nice. It's not good enough to get stuck in your head.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing was never going to be terribly story heavy. I wanted it to be, but
there's not much.
It's not story heavy. Doesn't take itself too seriously though, which can be pretty relaxing, which is something you probably want in a short form.
I mean, it was very quick fire, wasn't it? The episodes weren't long enough to overstay their welcome.
To be honest, I'd like to know more about Buddha Haruto and his friends.
Yep.
Than the figurines.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be good if the figurines were a part of their lives more than them being a part of the figurines' lives.
I think there is actually something to that, though. Each one of the figurines sort of represents a different passion of his, a different aspect of his life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like one of them is very, very game-centric. One of them is kind of the sci-fi centric. One of them is basically just the loving, kind of supportive thing that he's kind of needed. I figure you'd see it as.
At the end of the day, this is a light-hearted harem anime, but with figurines that come to life instead of normal-sized girls with all the cliche tropes you're expecting.
Harem anime meets Toy Story.
Yeah. I give it 5 Nendoroids.
I give it 5.5 posable figurines.
I'm going to give it 6 Gunplas out of 10.
Oh, okay. Ao-chan.
Yes.
Ao-chan can't study.
No, she cannot,
No.
and she's very bothered by that
She
because
is.
in the last episode we saw, she's.
Yeah, we won't spoil it for
no,
anyone who hasn't
okay.
caught it yet, but it's good. So the daughter of a best-selling adult author, Ao-chan is trying not to fall in love while studying for university entrance exams to get away from dad.
Yeah, because dad is Hapasai.
Yeah, now if you're not aware of who Hapasai is, watch Ranma 1/2. He is the short, perverse little man. Literally, he's shrunk in the wash and he's about 2 foot tall.
Does not take no for an answer.
The ninja panty thief.
Yes.
Yeah. So what?
We thought this would be pretty ecky.
Yeah.
Was pleasantly surprised.
There
are aspects.
I think it still has eki, but for me, this does for the eki genre what Konosuba did with isekais.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's taking a look at them, it's pointing out the flaws and having a good laugh at it while presenting a decent story.
And I feel like it's not so much eki in what it presents to us, but it sort of like makes us think eki.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd say it's not suitable for those under 15 because it discusses a variety of adult content and ideas, but I realise it's because I'm an adult that I know what they are.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I love, like, they are, how old are they? Like 15?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love...
No, 15 or 16, I'm not sure. If they're going for university entrance exams, 16 or 17, I thought.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just adore the blossoming relationship between Ao and Takumi. It's so sweet. She keeps giving him chances to fulfill this idea she has in her mind as to what guys are all like because of her dad. And he keeps surprising her and showing her that he's not like that at all.
I mean, the characters are really genuine. I quickly ended up invested in seeing where this relationship would go. And in the case of Takumi, I mean, he's portrayed to be a player by Ao in the first episode. She calls him, I believe, King of the Normies.
Yeah.
It couldn't be further from the truth. He's sweet, caring, thoughtful. The point of coming across as a bit stupid. So
It's I kind of struggled to find a way to put it into words until I tried to compare it to other sort of romance genre things. I ended up going back to look at As the Moon So Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, looking at the relationship in that, how it's played out, versus the relationship in this. I mean, I know this one is meant to be more comedic, but it shows these people in our Chan Can't Study as more deeply flawed and full of these just issues and hormones.
Yep, lot of hormones.
It's such a lovely take on teenage relationships, and it kind of touches at the same time on this idea that so many teenage girls have in their minds these expectations they have of boys, and also correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but the boys' expectations too. And there's so much peer pressure floating around, and these two are just flying the flag for finding such a real tender relationship amongst all of the mess of hormones that teenagers have, and that everyone thinks is important when it's not.
Exactly.
Rant
So,
over.
okay, you're good? You're good? Okay. So the art style, very good. It's not outstanding. It's not like, some of the top tier like Kyo animation stuff that we see every now and then, which
It's
is
not
just
like Your Name level.
overload of
Doesn't
colours.
have to be,
But it's really nice to watch because it's not overloaded.
Yeah,
The
it's very
opening
comfortable.
is super catchy.
I'm never
Yeah.
going to get that song out of my
No,
head.
and we will play that in a little bit because we've got a lovely cover of it. Now, there's a number of very sweet moments in that finale, and I hope we get to see season 2 where Al's exams are being done and what happens afterwards. So, what would you rate this?
10 misread situations out of 10.
Ooh,
I'm going to say 7 Hapasize out of 10.
I'm going 9 silky silkies out of 10. A reference you will get if you watch this show. Isekai Quartet.
I like it.
Yeah, so main characters from 4 isekai series, that's Konosuba, Re:Zero, Overlord, and Saga of Tanya the Evil, are teleported into an alternative world and into a high school environment. Chaos ensues.
I was familiar with 2 of these shows, Re:Zero and Konosuba, of course, and had a passing understanding of what was going on with the other 2. So when they were connected into this world together, I was intrigued to see the others. Now that I actually have an idea of what their characters are, I want to see more.
Except for Tanya the Evil.
That's a bit much.
Yeah.
But I think basically Isekai Quartet acts as a kind of an introduction to these other shows.
Fun fact, it's actually written by the guy who writes Konosuba. He went to the other writers and got permission to use their characters.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's his little love child.
I really love the interactions between these characters who'd otherwise not meet. It's the and the sensei.
Yeah. So it's so it is a parody anime. All the characters are chibi, which can be jarring compared to the original series because all the original series do have quite good animation, but as long as you go in knowing it's chibi,
I
you'll
love
be fine.
it.
And I think as part of the chibi thing, their character in jokes, they're that big quirk which sort of defines a character in the show. It can be overplayed or played up a little too much, especially in the case of Darkness.
Yeah, you were saying you thought that they kind of overplayed her.
That is the joke with Darkness, is her masochistic tendencies. But
knowing that it's written by the same guy who normally writes Konosuba, does that make any difference?
I believe that it's part of the whole chibi thing. It's like it's the joke. It's a less serious version.
It's the gag. On that note, we do have a lot of different characters who cross all this, but I have to make a call out to Takahashi Rei, who voices Megumin, and about 6 other characters across these franchises. Yep. She voices the main female lead from Re:Zero. She voices one of the minions from Overlord. She voices one of the secondary characters in Saga of Tanya the Evil. She voices one of the female older characters who popped up for an episode.
So she's a busy girl.
Oh my god, this must have been the biggest paycheck for her.
Oh man, right?
But yeah,
or I mean, it's kind of like having your birthday on Christmas Day. It's like you get the same amount of presents.
Now, I mean, one thing I did because of that, as I said, all the characters are faithfully recreated, and all the original voice actors have stayed on for it, which is it just really tees it off. It's not everyone's cup of noodle though. If you don't like isekai, this ain't gonna be for you. It is literally isekai to the power of 4.
Yeah.
It's
kind of reverse isekai if you think about it.
It is. So you kind of need to see, as you said, at least 2 of the series to kind of get the in-jokes and understand some of the character flaws. If you haven't seen any of them, it might be just a massive wash of what on earth am I watching?
Exactly.
But like Konosuba, its focus is a comedic story as opposed to a strong narrative-driven one. It sometimes actually get something done along the way, but if it does, great, but don't expect it. And season 2 was announced too.
Oh, good.
Wonderful.
That's good.
But yeah, for something like this, tune in, turn your brain off, have fun.
Yeah. I'm going to give it 7 big red buttons out of 10.
I'm going to give it 7.5 out of 10.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I thought you would.
I'm going to say 6 incredible crossovers out of 10.
Ooh.
So
This is a crossover that will never, ever be topped. Except by, every other one.
this next one is weird.
But we will get to that in a moment because we've got to play you some music.
Oh.
And this is our first song. This is Wonderful Wonder. It's the opening theme for Our Chan Can't Study. It's been produced and performed by YouTuber Inulloid. And Ryuzaki has performed a Vocaloid component. So the Miu Vocaloid-y thing? I should know that name.
Miku?
Yeah, the blue-haired ponytailed dancing, singing girl.
That was a meme for a while.
It was. So there's a program where you can run your voice through it to make it sound like her.
Oh.
Yeah. So here, have a listen.
わかんないことを好きわかろうとしてる時点なんて君のことが難しい君の魅力のワンダーラ消しゴム画面を出したら君と明日も喋れるからたくさんの中身のペンケース教室の隅ではち切れるジャブが鳴ったら秋に行くね夢中にさせてせーのジャブから始まるカウント君に近づけるリミット実に単純でラフな心ゼロ一が間に積んで全瞬のうちに抜けるの実に難しい記憶だの探偵ワンドワンドワンドフーワンダー
And yes, that was Wonderful Wonder. So that's originally performed by, what was the name of the band?
Edoga and Sullivan, I believe.
Yes, that's the one. And it's a duo of musicians who just throw together stuff. The video
Yeah.
clip's hilarious, the proper one.
Get
But
it out of
Sullivan,
your
that-
head, I dare you.
Sullivan, that's an Osakan name, surely.
surely.
Right.
Are the new Manhattan Osakans?
So our next one,
Yes. Joshi
Kawaii-Fi.
Kawaii.
This is okay.
So, a silent series with no speech or dialogue, focusing on 3 high school girls and their day-to-day
It's
lives.
not completely silent, is it? They make
No.
noises.
They grunt, they groan, and these people got
Yeah.
paid for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know, right?
What a day job.
Honestly, like the first episode threw me,
Mm-hmm.
but I persevered, and now I don't know how to feel about the random sounds they make. I don't know. I'm a bit bothered.
A bit bothered. All right. Well, look, I'll give the rundown. It only runs for 3 minutes, and a good minute of that is the opening and ending.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny, but a very unusual concept. It will not be to everyone's taste. To be honest, it probably won't be to most people's tastes. But he's managed to do it for 80-something chapters of a manga, the writer. So he's got...
mangas are actually silent, aren't
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the
exactly.
thing. I feel like this works better in a written form for me. The series didn't grab me. I feel like this really would go well as a manga.
Yeah.
Like,
The artwork is okay. It's nothing really to write home about. It's a bit washed out. There's
I
some
like it,
musical
though.
interludes to compensate
quite
for the lack of
bright.
talking, but
Yeah.
they stand out rather because of the lack of everything else rather than because they're
Yes.
amazing. So,
I will give it 5.5 squeaks out of 10.
oh, you're giving it more than me. 5 sore throats out of 10.
I didn't like it. I'm giving it 3 missing scripts out of 10.
Fair enough.
Thankfully, the next one we're talking about
Next one is standout.
beautiful.
Mushy. So good. So, Senryo
Sen-
Shoujo, which is Senryo Girl. Cheerful high school girl Nanako only communicates through Senryo, and along with ex-delinquent friend Eiji, the pair are freshmen in their school's literature club.
Yeah, her thug friend. Everyone calls him
your
her
thug
thug friend.
And despite this, it's like that feels like it should be a matter of contention and drama between the characters. There is no drama.
He's unbelievably sweet, and so is she. The whole thing is just sweet. You're looking forward to every episode, and I was really disappointed when it ended. And now I'm reading the manga.
Yeah. Like, imagine coming home from work, taking off all your clothes, getting straight into a spa, and watching this. That's how watching this feels. Comfortable.
I had something else written for that. I said that basically this anime is like having a nice warm cup of cocoa. I feel like it's going to be similar across the board.
You're not talking about our co-host Coco, are you?
Oh, no.
I don't like the idea of blending our cast members. I don't think it works.
Yeah, I'd rather not, if that's okay.
Will it blend?
I could go a cup of hot chocolate.
I think we might have to have a post-show hot chocolate.
Yeah,
post-show hot chocolate and Senryu Girl.
Yeah, it's such a gorgeous story. He's such a sweetheart of a buff head, and that fireworks episode.
Oh my god.
Oh
right
boy.
Right in the heartstrings.
That's the thing. It's like not just him, but each one of the other characters. They are a one-note joke each. That's the thing about them is she only communicates through Senryu. Another girl only communicates through the written, drawn pictures, through amazing sketches.
And then you got the fortune teller girl who
it's like
communicates, she communicates normally, but then occasionally she just hicks out the tarot cards and goes, whoops, did that wrong.
That's the thing. I believe we talked about this before. This is the joke for each of them, and it should be repetitive.
It should be.
It's not, though. It takes these things and puts them in a new situation.
Yeah, I mean, like you would think the haiku thing, and haiku and senryu are very similar forms of poetry, would get boring very quickly. It didn't. We immediately, when we talked about this in the preview, we're like, this could get boring quick. It did not. And though Nanako clearly has a TARDIS filled with her senryu boards in her pocket, I kind of like that suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, I do too. I'm actually excited about starting to read the manga.
And I believe, Kenny, you've taken some homage to this and decided that you'd like to write some senryu.
I give this series a relatively good score, fine plot, and ending.
Okay, but what score do you give it?
8 pooping bunnies out of 10.
Really? I gave it 10 rabbit nuggets out of 10.
I gave it 9 mushy feelings out of 10. But before we do move on, one thing I do want to point out is that for this, the art style is really well balanced. We've been very used to seeing that oversaturated, hyper-expressive colors lately, and this is well balanced, and especially when it comes to facial expressions, that to the point that when their eyes are actually sparkling, it actually shows up nicely and normally, as opposed to feeling like they've got laser beams popping out their eyes.
And frankly, I'm never going to get bored of Nanako's smile. She
is so sweet, so sweet.
She needs the hugs.
Now the next one is Japan is going to teach you about Nagoya and you will love it. It is Yatogame-chan Observation Diary. Now, this story focuses on Kaito Jin. He's a Tokyo high school student who moves to Aichi Prefecture in the Nagoya Prefecture. He's a little obsessed with Nagoya and joins his new school's photography club, which features 3 girls from different areas around Nagoya. One with a not strong Nagoyan dialect, who has cat elements to her design, one with red hair that is somewhat crayfish looking, and a black hair girl who I still can't figure out what she's meant to represent, but it is an icon from the area that she is from within.
Yeah, I expect a lot of this stuff is going to be a matter of translation and like being in the know about this sort of thing.
What I thought was really funny is every episode is basically him proving that everything he thinks is Nagoyan is something he already has at home. Like, all these sweets he brought, and it's like, oh, why did you bring normal sweets? And they're like, they're Nagoyan sweets. And he's like, oh, mind blown.
Yeah, he's learning a lot about it. I can't help but wonder that if I knew all these in-jokes, I'd be really getting so much out of it.
Let me tell you a thing that will educate you on Japan.
Tell me.
From a very good friend on Anime List, who is apparently 1/8 Nagoyan and very, very intelligent. I'm kidding. He says you must have an incredibly high IQ to watch this. And once you've watched it, you should go away and sit and think on it. And if you can handle it, come back for some more.
Wait, who?
This is someone in the review section taking the utter mickey. Because you know how you get those people who say, oh, I feel you must have a really high intelligence to enjoy the show. No, you don't need to have a high intelligence to enjoy this. You don't need a high intelligence to enjoy any show. You just enjoy it. And, you know, if you don't get the themes, you watch it again or read up on it. Yeah. Pretty simple. So, interesting fact. In Nagoya, the syllables for I and Ai, so AI and AE, are pronounced ya. and that's their cultural dialect. So their accent for the region.
Yeah.
So umai comes across as umya, and omei comes across as umya.
Hence
Sounds
the
a bit
cat
like a
themes,
nya,
yes.
which is the sound Japanese people feel the cat makes. So that's
Awesome.
why Nagoya is associated with cats, because they all think they're going nya 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 to everything. It's 3-minute episodes. I believe I mentioned this is getting a second season. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I was quite surprised, and I'm going to give it 8 Nan cats out of 10.
This one didn't grab me, but I get why it would get other people. This feels less like advertising place for me and more like fun fact of the week about this part of the world. I'm like I said, didn't grab me. I'm giving it too much information out of 10.
I'm going to give it 6.5 cat ears out of 10.
I hope they're still attached. That'd be awful.
Well, we'll have to find
as
out.
long as they're like little headsets that we can put on. All right, and we'll be right back after this.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
Now to move on to what do they say, the meat and potatoes of the issue, and that is the main full-length series, the standard stories we've had this season. We're going to start with Carole and Tuesday, but on that note, we did mention Carole and Tuesday hasn't been released properly, and I managed to track down a song from it, and I don't know if we're allowed to play it, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Always knew what I wanted to do, but things just don't go smooth. Inside out, then going upside down. It's easy to sing, but it's harder to live. I met you, and then the story began. The only lonely two must have been some kind of magic in the wind. Hit me with the beat and singing boom, 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 yeah. Round and round the dancing laundry. Let's lose our mind, forget the time, and everything will be just fine. Round and round like dancing laundry. It's you and me, that's all we need. You are the missing puzzle piece.
So damn catchy.
Such a gorgeous song.
And that's just one of many songs. So Carole and Tuesday, it's a story set in the future. AI composes all the music with real musicians, kind of a thing of the past. And on Mars, 2 girls from different walks of life connect over their music and create a duo. And it's pretty hard to track down due to its association with Netflix Japan. It will be coming to Netflix International once it's finished, I believe. And that is still another 12 episodes away.
Yes, it's halfway through at the moment.
It's produced by Studio Bones in commemoration of the studio's 20th anniversary and the 10th anniversary of record label Flying Dog. So perfect harmony of music and animation together.
And it truly is, It's the sound. This is something that you will come to this anime for the story and for it being a gorgeous anime. You stay for the fact that it is a sense experience. The visuals are beautiful, impressive. Just
in the words of Bret Michaels, stunningly beautiful.
thank you, Coco.
You're really stuck on that one today, aren't you?
But
well,
on that note,
the
opening song has some real heart to it. Its warm chalk colors are heavily used during it, and then that proceeds into what you said. Like everything feels very warm and comforting.
It feels very real. I want to say this is set on Mars in a not so far off future, but far enough for technology to be fantastical and wonderful, and yet it's grounded in a certain way.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing I noticed is that those advanced technologies were brought in slowly. It wasn't a massive, boom, here's everything, boom, there's everything else. It was, here's a better suitcase that she's using. It can walk on its own.
The realism is really one of the standout features for it, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think this kind of goes counterintuitive, but because it uses product placement, it actually feels grounded in the real world.
Yes,
yeah,
it's they're trying to get attention drawn to their budding band, and they do this through Instagram, which is only done because,
Well, there's a partnership for it, I believe, as part of the show.
Exactly. Instagram is part of the sponsorship for this, and I mean, it's not overbearing. It's present, though. It's, what is it? Multimedia such as this.
Well, I mean, we're so used to watching people going onto a computer and then having to pretend it's not an Apple product or not a Windows product.
Yes.
In
In various,
or Capazon.
Yeah.
in one I watched a while ago around High School Host Club, they had Apple like Airbooks, except instead of the Apple logo, it was a pineapple or something like that.
Oh, yeah, or a berry, or,
There are
like
little-
2 chunks taken out of the apple.
Exactly. You watch it and go, I see what you're doing there. But now it's like, oh, hey, this is something I'm familiar with. And it's like social media and stuff plays a huge role in music and media these days. So it feels like it's just another journey.
I mean, on that note as well,
different
like, staying with the product placement, Gibson, who make guitars, and Nord, who make pianos, are both credited as part of the team for it, and their products are in it.
Very cool piano that we see there.
It's a very cool guitar that we see there. I'd love a Gibson acoustic. But, they're credited in the credits for supplying their instruments and branding for the show. Now, the artwork of this is particularly beautiful. It's not oversaturated. The characters move really smoothly, and their movement in particular with the music, that really hit me.
Stunningly beautiful.
First it was the
sorry.
kazoo, and now it's Brett
No,
Michaels.
honestly, this is a very, very beautifully
Next week it'll be a drum
animated
kit.
show.
So the 2 main characters are Carole and Tuesday, both from very different walks of life. There is a third girl named Angela, who's also her story shown alongside them, and she's a model and seems pretty jaded about society and music, and she wants to be a singer. I have a very strong feeling this is going to lead to a massive team up between the 3 of them at the end. And then there is Gus Goldman, the manager. And what can you say about Gus except, wow, Gus.
He's a
He's a
big
go-getter.
personality.
He's a real fire rocket,
Yes,
isn't he?
he is. He's pretty good.
Well, for those who are interested, Gus is a down-and-out drunkard ex-manager of musicians.
But you know what? He has a dream, and when his passion is running high, as in like he wants to really manage a band. He really goes for it, and he
does.
almost bangs down their door.
Yeah, it's this great moment, and I think it's the second episode where like he's been banging on their door in the morning for like 10 minutes. They finally open the door and he shoves his face through the gap in the sliding door. Massive grin. I'm your manager.
Yeah,
It's like,
he's
whoa.
awesome.
This show just resonates so much for me. I mean, that's probably because I'm a musician and watching them go through the creative process. It's very realistic when you're writing original music, what it's like to you go, oh, maybe this would work. I'll hum this melody. No, that doesn't really work. And then, oh, I've got these lyrics. What if these try with this and this? And it's like, for me, watching that, it's like watching one of the rehearsal sessions for the previous bands
Yes,
I've
just
been in.
that bit in the first episode where they're just trying to mesh their chords, blend their stars. I mean, they are from very different worlds, but they bond over this common thing, and it really shows. I'm really loving where this is going.
I give it 10 Gibson guitars out of 10, only because, yes.
I was going to give it 9 Gibson acoustics out of 10.
Oh.
So I can't wait to see where it goes.
Yeah, I can't wait for it to actually land on Netflix so we can watch the whole thing.
9 vinyl records out of 10. I'm a sucker for a good
Ooh.
ending. If they can land it perfectly, it is going to be a straight 10.
Yeah.
This is a great one.
On that note, before we do go on, but between, so you know how we get those little eye catch things that are used for going to ad breaks in the middle of someone's? They use old vinyl records, and they're the single records of big songs like Bruce Springsteen and all that. And every episode is named after a song.
Absolutely, yeah.
It really harkens back to that love of music. Fairy Gone.
Yeah. All right. So I like the militaristic aspect of it and how well the idea has been developed. But the storyline hasn't grabbed me. I don't see a storyline amongst all of the cool stuff.
Yeah, so here's a quick one-line synopsis. So humans were implanted with fairies to create powerful soldiers during a war for unification, and 9 years after the war, these soldiers are left to find a new purpose in life.
Yeah, it's the atmosphere for this is like old World War One, pre-World War Two kind of technology and aesthetics. The frozen, wet, dark
Has a very
kind of
Germanic
Europe.
feel to it as well.
Exactly. And not only that, but these like fairy creatures that are in no way like cutesy, but almost Lovecraftian and terrifying in nature. And it has
potential.
It has fantastic potential, but the execution I feel was just off. I'm not sure I can bring myself to care about these characters.
This is the issue that we find with original series. Sometimes they can be amazing. Like Carole and Tuesday, it's not based on a manga or anything. It's a completely original idea. And so far from what we've seen, it looks good. I'm sure it will slow down because they've got 25 episodes to do it. Fairy Gone has the same problem, except that I feel like they ran out of steam in episode 2.
Pretty much, yes.
I think
And
so too.
while PA Works is the one who are doing this, and we're used to seeing them do very pretty things, they're not responsible for the script. So it might be pretty, but, and there are elements of CG to the fairies, which, can work. At least the whole thing's not CG.
Hybrid is quite common these days.
We haven't finished watching it, and while I find the story intriguing, I don't know if I can put that at the top of the list when we've got all this other stuff to watch.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
I'm giving it 5 fatigues out of 10.
Well, the reviews online are not looking good for the second 6 episodes in particular, with many saying the plot is sidelined for a buddy cop slice of life show between the two main characters. So there's also that Naruto Sasuke vibe for the main character Malia. I must save them from myself when she's talking about Veronica, her old friend. And she's like, Sasuke Naruto, Sasuke Naruto. So there is the second core of it's on the way in October, but 5 fairy godparents out of 10 from me.
Yeah, it is simultaneously something new and original and everything I've seen before. So, I don't know.
I mean, we were really hopeful for this.
Pretty much. I want to give it a better score because it has things in it that I like. The atmosphere and the art are beautiful.
Yeah.
That's the way I felt.
But I'm going to give it 4 not werewolves out of 10.
Not werewolves. Is that? Are you a werewolf? No, I'm a not wolf.
Yes, I'm a werewolf.
Now we got to talk about what I'm pretty sure is going to be your number 1 this season.
Oh, it's
close.
It's
Fruits
close.
Basket.
Yeah, it's just lovely.
Now you might have heard of Fruits Basket in the past. This is a redo with all of the manga at their disposal.
Yeah, this anime follows the story of orphan girl Toru Honda, who's taken in by the Soma family. They are blessed, or cursed, with the animals of the zodiac, and whenever the opposite sex holds them or hugs them, they turn into their corresponding animal.
Which has produced some glorious hijinks.
Yes.
Hilarity ensues.
The interactions between the family are wonderful. Well, actually, not all of them. Some of them aren't very nice. But then the way they interact with each other outside of the family compound and how they interact with classmates and stuff, I really love it.
Yeah. I've really enjoyed this series, and I've never watched the original, but the production quality on this one is great. I've seen some of the production quality in the original, and I can understand why the author of the manga was not happy with it and took it to a completely different studio for the reboot.
Absolutely, yeah.
I am biased as to which animal I'm waiting to see, and have been getting a bit impatient to see it, but in between sitting on my hands to avoid spoilers,
That's the worst
I'm
rooster
loving
sound.
this. Yes, what you want is a cock-a-doodle-doo.
Yeah, but...
Which is a bit longer.
It's the characters which really have drawn me into this series. It's because they are based on the Zodiac, as you mentioned, and their personality traits resemble these ones in a variety of different ways. Some of them, because I'm a little ignorant on the matter, some of them are sort of revealed to you, taught to you, even by how the characters will interact.
Yeah. There's Toru's life, I have to say, though, is pretty much one disaster up to another up until now.
Yes.
And because of that, the opening and ending songs, while lovely, are very depressing. There's a strong focus on loss in the lyrics and a mournful feeling to both the tunes, even when they're talking about happier content. And I know that's purposeful because of what Toru's gone through. But I want a break from that. I'm looking forward to the new tune. And that will hopefully happen because it's continuing through to next season for its full 24 episodes run, according at least to IMDb, TVDB, and about 4 other databases I checked for release dates. So it should be good. It is not confirmed from the studio yet, but everyone already has the release dates for when it's airing in Japan. So it's confirmed.
Wonderful.
Because of that, I have to give it 8 sad songs out of 10.
I am going to give it an 8.5 doormats out of 10 because I really want her to start appreciating herself. That's the only thing that's just, her character is very, like, she puts everyone else but herself first, and it's just like, no, you need to stop. You need to start building yourself up now.
Yeah.
So you really identify with this character. It's like you're really emotionally attached to them.
A little bit, yeah.
Kenny, thoughts?
8 transformation sequences out of 10. It is a lovely anime and a fantastic readaptation.
Helpful Fox Senko-san.
Can I have one, please? I'm overworked.
So let me give you the synopsis
Kinda.
before, because I both of you have a lot to say on this, I
can
believe.
find reasons.
So salaryman Nakani has his stressful life interrupted by the appearance of an 800-year-old fox girl deity who decides to look after him at home.
And he's
Now
a
you say 800 years old, but she looks like
She's jailbait.
Well,
tiny.
he's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
And he's just like not making great choices because
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to care for himself. It's
No.
really a good commentary on, it's essentially a fox girl trying to improve the life of a man being crushed under the wheel of Japanese work culture. And there are some really rather sweet and heartfelt moments in it. So I was really taken in by it. There are a good dose of comedy parts here and there, and a few side characters, and then more fox girls appear. 3, in fact.
this.
I see what you did
You know
there.
exactly where I'm
I
going
know
with
exactly
this.
where
We
you're
had
going
a
with
great discussion about this while we were watching this. This is My Goddess.
Fox edition.
That's what this is. I cannot be swayed on the matter. You've got the 3 different fox girls. One of them is a kind of a seductress, sake badger erd.
The Saki Badger.
And we've just been introduced to Scold.
I mean, that's totally not her name.
No.
So yeah, it's something we've seen before in another form, I think. But this one, it's more about the comfort.
I've really enjoyed this, and it's nothing stand out, but as you said, it's a comfy anime, and we all know we're suckers for that.
I love the post story bit.
So after the credits, there's a section of where you are in Nakani's shoes, and
and you're being taken care of.
She's
taking care of you.
Very, very VR-ish.
Yeah.
It's like you are in the first person while she is making you a nice cup of tea and telling you not to worry and to relax. It's, oh my God, it's so
also,
comfortable.
the artwork is quite a lot better than I was expecting.
It is really good, isn't it?
Nakani's reactions to events are actually reasonable. This isn't the usual, I've had someone appear in my house, might as well go with it. It's like, there's a small child in my house. People will think I'm a pedo. Puts her outside.
Something about the art style. You remember Crazy Shrine Girls? Kanagi. It's something about it is very reminiscent of
God,
that
I would
to me.
love the author to finish that. She's been on health leave for like 4 years. I think she ended up with cancer or a tumor.
Oh dear.
Which her brother apparently took over the story for her, and he got ill too. So I think it might be a family history of badness.
Great.
No, it's not.
Back to more pleasant
On to something good. I'm going to dub this my Senko-san, and I'm going to give it 7 broken rice cookers out of 10.
7 comfy chairs out of 10. It's just, I need to watch some more of it, but I adore it.
All right, you really want to hold
I
this?
want a fox. I have reasons.
I have needs.
Give me one.
So is that a 10? Oh,
10 little foxes?
Yes.
oh, that's really hit you in the heart there. Now, I know we did rag on Fairy Gone a little bit, but we do have a song by one of the show's good friends, Romi. He does covers and all sorts of amazing music, and he's covered the intro song, which is called Knock on the Core by No Name. And have a listen. rockin' tune.
Awesome.
It's not as... Oh, actually, we do need to mention something. So last time we did a season in review, and we got all these lovely covers from wonderful people on YouTube to use, and obviously credit them for. We got a takedown request by the label who look after the band Mad Kid. Now, we wondered why this was. Romix's cover of the Shield Hero opening for Season 1, Rise, was so good, it triggered the automatic copyright covering thing.
I'd say that's a compliment.
That's a compliment. He nailed it, and I suspect Knock on the Core is going to do the same, along with another one we've got from a bit later on.
A nice job, man. You just got us copyright stuff again.
Well done, Romix. We love you, man. Thank you very much. Now, we do need to move on to Hitori Bocchi.
Yes.
Now, Bocchi is a girl with social anxiety and is abandoned by her best friend from middle school, who says she won't talk to her again until she's befriended the whole class at her new school.
That's a bit pressuring.
Yeah.
Just a bit. That is the premise of it. Now, the friend is trying to do this for the right reasons. It's the wrong way to do it.
Pretty much.
Friend should feel bad.
Friend should feel awful. And we do get to see Friend cry several times, so that's good.
Yes, that means Friend is suffering. Friend should suffer for making her friend suffer. I really like Hitori Bocchi. She's sweet. Like,
I enjoyed this a lot.
She's slowly making all her friends. She's going around her classroom, and I wish that was the main issue that faced me in my day-to-day life.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, this portrays social anxiety really well.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And it shows how crippling it can be, and with the challenges that are needed to overcome it. And, I mean, it's not an easy topic for people to talk about openly. It's and a lot of people, like, we were surprised how many people we knew who actually suffer from social anxiety.
And that's why I feel like animes like this are... They can be kind of important in a way at communicating these issues for the people who don't.
There are going to be viewers who misunderstand it. There are some bloody awful reviews of this on my anime list calling it weaponized autism and other things like that.
That's rude.
It is very rude because these are people who don't understand the people this is aimed at. It's not aimed at you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you're after, I don't know, Berserk, go watch some Berserk. Don't watch something which is clearly, not that.
Yeah, anxiety is hard for people to understand if they haven't either experienced it or seen someone they actually really care about experience it. So
I mean, this is like a slice of life kind of a deal, which is itself a genre like isekai. There are a dime a dozen like it, like Azumanga Daioh, for example.
Yeah.
But when you throw the social anxiety thing into it, I feel like it is aimed at people who suffer with those kind of issues, and I feel like something like this could mean a lot to them. So
yeah. Now the character interactions are quite good in it. It shows you that not everyone's perfect and everyone has flaws.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that once again we have another comfy, lovely anime where the friend's best friend is an ex-delinquent, even though she's not.
She's like a thug friend.
They're like, you got
I
a
like
thug
all
friend.
These thug friends.
Except none of them are thugs, and that's
They're
the
lovely.
gag.
it's an archetype, I think, the misunderstood thug.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a feel-good anime, and all of the characters so far have been given enough complexities to make them, properly valid. It's explored well. The animation is great. I have to give it 8 friends out of 10.
I give it 8 counselling sessions out of 10.
I'm gonna give it 6 awkward silences out of 10. It's not my thing, but I can respect why it is someone else's.
Now, I'm pretty sure this is one you really wanted to talk about, Kenny, which is Midnight Occult Civil Servants.
It's one which I kind of watched the first couple of episodes of and then binged to quite a fantastic degree. To give you a bit of background, Arata Miyako is a new government worker assigned to the Shinjuku Ward officer's nighttime regional relations department.
Okay, so sounds like going out and talking to all the drunkards and go home.
Sounds like it's going to be sort of like a day in the life, man on the job kind of deal. But no, the nighttime regional relations are responsible for dealing with the non-human, the spiritual, the creatures. This is Men in Black, only if you replace the aliens with Japanese demons, and not just Japanese demons, but mythologies from all around the world. Like, they have their local monsters and creatures to deal with, but then they've got random fairies. There is a run-in with Pandora of Pandora's box herself. There is evidence that hell is a thing in this.
Wow.
And so this guy, Arata, he is the only person in this job, and perhaps in the world, that is able to speak to these non-human creatures. He can communicate with them. He can speak to them and understand their language. Nobody else has any idea what's going on there, and it is bloody weird. And all these non-human...
Very convenient, but it's also, if he couldn't, what would be the story to tell?
Exactly, but there is a sort of an underlying plot here, because all of them seem to mistake him for another person named Abe no Seme, who is... I didn't really understand this until I started researching for the show. This man existed in Japanese history and in mythology. He is essentially the Japanese variation of Merlin.
What?
He was an astronomer. He was an advisor. He was this fascinating individual with his own history. But
so everyone thinks he's like the reincarnation of this, equivalent of Japanese Merlin.
Absolutely. Like they recognize him as this person, and it's revealed through some little quirks that he actually does bear a blood relation to this person. That's why he can understand the creatures.
Now,
and
see, I only managed to catch 2 episodes of this, but I was interested to see where it goes, because that first episode seems quite light and fluffy, and then afterwards it starts getting into a lot of heavier stuff in that second episode, pretty much straight off the bat.
Oh yeah, the first one is they're investigating a disturbance, which is a Romeo and Juliet plot between these glowing, glorious-looking blonde angel creatures and the black-winged Kenku people. And yeah, it's an interesting little thing.
It is.
And then that goes straight into zombies being summoned from corpses, and is, oh my god, what the heck?
Yeah, how did we end up here? I didn't expect to be heading over to, I don't know.
That was a jump. And yeah, it's it can have its little emotional moments. There's a sort of, but also not romantic subplot between the main guy and a spirit named who he has named Coyote, who is in fact the Aztecan god of chaos, dance, and revelry.
Oh, well, that sounds about right.
Sorry, Huecoyotl or something. I'm butchering that name heavily.
Quetzalcoatl?
No, Huecoyotl.
Oh, I'm not going to try.
I'm not going to try.
That's the best I can give, guys.
What would you give it out of 10 inanimate objects of some form?
Oh, 8 Illuminati plots out of 10.
Oh, this is pretty good. I'd give it 6.5 ghouls out of 10, because I just haven't watched enough
Now,
yet.
I'm going to give this a tentative 7 crystal balls out of 10. And I will come back and revise that if it goes well. But
I recommend it.
I'm going to let you guys take over this next one, because I don't care.
Okay.
Namu Amadasu Butsu, or as we've basically come to know it as
Buddha Bros.
Now, this is a team centered around Shaka, called the 13 Buddhas, and 2 benevolent deities who protect the Dharma, the temple. They have this long-standing fight with these creatures called the Mara. They are protecting normal human beings from supernatural forces. Only sometimes they're doing that. The rest of the time, they are sort of trying to do people things.
Trying to do people things.
Yeah, these are gods who live in their own celestial world.
Truer words have never been said.
So they come when they come down to Earth, they have to wonder, how does one order a burger?
And
what is money?
Exactly.
This is an anime that, I don't know, this is going to sound a bit ridiculous, but when you just sort of you've woken up and you're just sort of figuring out what to do with your day, and you've got some productive stuff you could be doing, and you feel bad for choosing to spend hours playing WoW instead.
Is that what this show feels like?
I feel like I'm super lazy for watching it, as there's so much out there to watch that seems more productive, but I feel like that's unfair.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I feel like that's unfair, because it's fun.
It's junk food for the soul.
Yeah.
It's a bit of fun. These are people that are supposed to represent the Buddhist religion, and now, having said that, I realize I should probably make the caveat that how does one order a vegan burger, not a... begging your pardons. Each character is based off a figure from Buddhist religion and mythology. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure this anime is going to do anyone and educate insofar as the story of that sort of thing is concerned.
I kind of... Do you remember that one we spotted a few seasons ago, which was literal people reincarnated versions of swords?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's exactly the vibe I got off it, and I didn't like it. And I realised this isn't my cup of tea, so I'll give this a complete disinterest out of 10.
Okay, I'm going for 7.5 to 8 homoerotic undertones out of 10.
Do we get a volleyball montage with the homoerotic undertones?
If
If
you
not, I'm not
want.
interested.
5 Lotus Sutras out of 10. It's dumb, but it's fun.
Right.
On to more
We've
fun.
got to talk about this one.
You need to say it with me, okay? Sarah.
Sarah.
No, you got to say it too, Kenny.
I don't
Sarah.
wanna.
I say Sarah. You say Sarah. Then you say Sarah. Okay. Sarah.
Sarah.
Zanmai.
If you insist.
All right.
Yeah, so this is
and
the
that is about as much expressive enjoyment I'm going to give for this one. Please
I love
go
how
ahead,
much
Coco.
I'm pulling out of you guys. This is the story of
Don't
three.
say pulling out when you're referring to this anime.
This is the story of 3 middle school boys, Kazuki, Toi, and Enta, who are transformed into Kappas by the Kappa prince, Kepi, and help him assemble the dishes of hope, which grant wishes.
Dishes of hope. Does that explain why that girl keeps saying dish dish?
I don't know yet.
You're expecting an explanation.
This
of
is a
anime?
very strange show.
Henchmen from the Otter Kingdom. They're also
Otter.
lovers. Ryu and Mabu, they are the villains, stylishly creating zombies, which the boys must defeat.
Are they the police officers
Yes.
who I thought looked like Jesse and James from
Yep.
Pokemon?
Yep. So the boys must defeat these zombies by extracting their shurikodama.
Out
How
of
do
their
we do
butts.
this, boys?
Through the butt.
Yes.
Jesus.
And yelling in unison, Sarah Zanmai.
Do we know what Sarazanmai actually means?
I haven't looked it up because I kind of want to try and take this in the first watch, and then I'm going to look up more to do with it in the second watch because, like, so I haven't seen anything else by the director, whose name is Kunihiko Ikehara, except for Sailor Moon. He worked on Sailor Moon.
Was he working on Sailor Moon as a director? Or was he working
yes,
on... Okay.
I believe
This
so.
explains so much.
I've been reading an awesome blog called Atelier Emily, and she's explaining that a lot of his works are metaphorical and use repeated motifs such as the boxes.
Yeah.
There's a lot, like, if you have to keep rewatching it and grabbing bits and pieces.
So
But
in that aspect, it's like Neon Genesis, where he's
Yes.
created a multi-layered narrative.
yes.
There are a lot of people who don't like that. So we understand there are people who aren't going to watch it. There are other reasons I don't really enjoy this.
There is, like-
Please
Is
continue.
it like when they turn into Kappa, the dead eyes, the dainty toes, the butthole crosses, the deliberate movements?
Like the
Garfield.
consistent visuals of things coming
cross-dressing.
out of a creature's
Why
butt.
did you mention Garfield?
Because of the cat. You know, the cat that's in it.
Yeah, but this is no place to be talking
I'm
about I'm
sorry,
sorry,
John.
John.
But
Ladies and gentlemen,
also,
Google that at your peril.
how about that end theme? How amazing
Look,
is it?
I have a couple of things to say here. Literally, I have 2 points. So there is a use of metaphors in physical objects, which appear to be a common theme for the creator. And I love the opening and outro, and that is it. I'm done. There you go. I've said it all. I've said
Okay.
all I need to say on this song.
What you gonna give it out of 10?
2 aneurysms out of 10.
Kenny?
You first. This is
8
yours.
chocolate starfish out of 10.
Jesus. All right.
One of us is going to go there, so.
I'm gonna give this a 2. 2 sets of earmuffs and blindfolds for me and Kyle.
Yeah,
Out of 10.
You guys are
I will
missing
shake
out.
on that. Let's
I
yeah,
feel
thank
like
you very much.
you're missing out. Like,
Well-
you're just so bothered by the butts.
It's not the butt stuff which bothers me. It's the sheer
Surely.
ludicrousness of it.
If there was no butt stuff in it, though, I think you'd give it a slightly higher mark, wouldn't you? Right?
No.
It's all
no.
about the shurikodama. It's the
It's
folk.
it's not. It's
Legend.
not to do with the butt stuff that puts me off. It's
It's okay if it is.
greatly no. I don't like stories that try too hard to be metaphysical and metaphorical out of the box.
this is what
It's why I really struggled to watch what's the one with a really long name to do with the vampire girl who floats.
What will
and then
happen at
there's,
the end of the world? Will you save us?
Stationary vampire.
Yeah, Monogatari.
That's
Baka
right.
Monogatari, and then there's also Sarianya Adgantabari, I think it was.
I'm
well.
going to watch this for you both.
Okay, and you can tell us
Yes, I'll
if it
tell you
actually
all
has
about
something to tell.
We
Yeah.
respect your sacrifice, Coco.
Well, she doesn't think it's a sacrifice.
And that is the
I'm
saddest
not
part of
bothered.
all.
So, going back to the only good thing about Sarah Zanmai, here is a cover by Robyn Ardery. Now, she has done the ending song, Stand By Me, which is performed by the Peggies. It's the ending theme for Sarah Zanmai, and she's a singer-songwriter from the US. She's actually just released her first album on iTunes, so please check out her context via the link in this episode's description. We'll also be linking it on our Facebook as well.
Stand by me お願い僕は強くなれるのかな涙が目にさらわれてく君の熱に抱かれたい終えておいた消えかけの電球ある朝そっと明かりは消えてたまるで君と僕みたい繋いだ手の儚さを知る膝を抱えて憧れていたのはいつかの最初 Stand by me お願い僕は強くなれるのかな君が今ここにいなくても手を伸ばす自信をくれよ Stand by you お願い何もかもとばらってしまいたい涙が目にさらわれていた君の熱に抱かれたいだけなんだ
Wow.
Beautiful sound.
She absolutely nailed that. Knocked it out the park.
That was wonderful.
Is that going to be another copyright strike?
Probably. I think I prefer her pronunciation than the original, but I mean, that's just me. I really enjoyed that a lot. So thank you so much for letting us use that, Robyn.
Yep. Thank you.
We now need to talk about the shows which have continued into this season or had a sequel, and we'll start straight off the top with probably one of the biggest hitters in my books, which was Dororo. Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
I expected so much of the series. I expected... my
hit
expectations were so
everything.
high. Look at my expectations. They are up there.
That's an unfamiliar ceiling.
Why did they leave me hanging?
They didn't. No spoilers. So the climax of the last 3 episodes is utterly incredible. I loved every moment of it.
Feels can't handle it.
Coco is
I'm on the
almost
train.
in tears right now, just for you listeners who are unsure.
It is absolutely incredible.
It is
oh my
such
goodness.
a well-rounded and complete story. It honors the original manga beautifully. The characters are all human and amazing and relatable, and they all have strong motives, even the people who are villains. There is no real true villain other than the demons themselves. And I want more. I want more of Dororo and Hyakimaru.
More. We need more.
You know what? I'm satisfied.
I'm satisfied.
I'm happy.
I would love more, but just like with Megaloblocks, I'm happy with how it's ended.
Exactly.
You could do more, but you don't have to. Now, if you haven't caught Dororo, Dororo is basically a story of Hyakimaru. His father is a lord of a region which is undergoing a great plight. And
Daigo Kagemitsu.
yeah, and he decides to make a deal with a set of demons. And when his first son is born, Hyakimaru, he's born normal, and suddenly almost all of his body parts other than his core frame is taken. So he loses his eyes, his limbs, his
spinal
skin,
cord.
everything.
Each of these things sacrificed to one of the devils to appease them to bring like prosperity to the land.
But not all the devils got everything, which is why he still survived with his life. And then Hyakimaru grows up and decides to reclaim his body parts.
using
Bit by bit.
he is basically this collection of prosthetic limbs hiding blades, and he is just out for vengeance.
And along the way, he meets Dororo, a young child, and Dororo, I guess, kind of serves as the conduit for us to connect to Hyakimaru.
Yeah.
Hyakimaru can't see, he can't hear, he can't smell, he can't do anything.
And Dororo is an orphan, and he attaches himself to Hyakimaru.
Now, I need to give this... This is hard, because I want more. I want just a little bit more. I want 10 minutes more just to wrap a couple of things up for me. Even though it's wrapped up, I want to see how it happened.
I don't believe it's wrapped up. They have to give us more. Right?
No, it's
Yes!
finished.
No,
It's
it can't
this is the
be.
same point the
Give
manga
us more.
ended.
Whoever's listening, please.
All right, pull the mic away. You're too loud. You need to calm your farm, have a nice cup of hot cocoa.
I give it 14. Why did they leave me hanging like that out of 10? Okay?
14 out
It's
of 10.
my final word.
All right. Well, I'm going to give it a 9.5 dead demons out of 10.
10 errant limbs out of 10. This was
Just wow.
another one of those
Masterpiece.
animes which was just exactly what it needed to be.
It hit every single note without fail. There was no dull moments. There was nothing wrong throughout the series as far as pacing, stories, even the side stories which some would consider filler, actually attributed and contributed to both Hyakimaru and Dororo's character development and also their overall story about what their role is.
This one is another star in the anime heavens, folks.
This is probably one of our most highly recommended, and when we get to the year-end
Yeah.
review, this will be making an appearance you
It
watch.
is excellent.
After Dororo, there's Shield Hero, the rising of the Shield Hero, and he keeps rising higher and higher and higher. So Shield Hero,
Like that song by the Greats.
all I want to say is announce season 2 already. I've loved this. It's a standout isekai genre for me. It's not your generic, oh, I'm over here and now I have a harem and oh, everything's
Yeah.
going great. It's no. There are trials and tribulations. People are not to be trusted, and you will have to earn your place in this world. And earned it, has he.
Against all odds.
Now, if you aren't aware of what The Rising of the Shield Hero is, it's an isekai story. So a guy is summoned to another world along with 3 other gentlemen from parallel worlds that also have Japan in them. They are all assigned a role as a hero to help fight these incoming waves of darkness which are trying to literally destroy their world. However, in the very first episode, he's betrayed by one of the girls who claims that he's been
forced himself upon her.
Thank you. And then he has to rebuild everything from scratch.
From nothing. And to put things in perspective, each of them are given a legendary weapon with which to save the world. He is given a shield. He cannot
He's
attack.
not able to hold. One of the rules of these legendary weapons is that you're not actually able to pick up another weapon with it. If you do, it disintegrates or it burns your hand, depending on how long you hold on to it.
So he is in a very tough spot all throughout the very start of this anime. But I would like to sum things up in one word for later in the series. Vindication.
Oh, yes.
So we get to around episode 20 and you start getting to the real nuts and bolts of what's going on in the behind the scenes, and you get some seriously lovely revenge. They say a fate worse than death. Oh yeah. The final story arc is starting to expand more on the world and the more complicated nature of the waves of evil that are coming to, and the other villains who have appeared, such as Glass. The last 2 episodes reveal a lot about the situation they're in, and I know you two haven't watched it yet, so I'm not going to say anything yet. But yeah. It's
Awesome.
it's literally it's the same as Attack on Titan. What Attack on Titan did this season, where you suddenly get a much bigger understanding of the world. So I'll give it 10 blood sacrifices out of 10.
10 shields out of 10 for me.
9 electrocutions out of 10.
Vindication!
That makes me happy.
On that note, Attack on Titan Season 3, Part 2.
Wow.
Well, I've already read past this point in the manga, but
As you keep reminding us.
I just want them to get to it already. It's so good.
I fell behind a bit on this.
You
I
have.
had everything else on my plate.
You are up to the last battle from memory, so you haven't seen the big revelation.
Oh my goodness.
I saw the
Kenzo.
final battle and the results therein. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So
I am exhausted.
we
What
finally
you will
learn
see.
about the world outside the walls, and
And
what is in the base.
Been a bit more about the Titan.
Yes, the basement that everyone's been chasing.
Now,
like,
this
everyone's been
season
pinning everything
where it's
on.
ending will perfectly tie in to a 4th season, which will literally cover, I'd imagine, almost the whole story arc of what's happening in the manga now.
Ooh.
Like they have, to be fair, used a lot of filler. a lot of filler in the manga, which I feel they can cut out quite comfortably. Like, there's backstories of people who appear for like 2 episodes and then kind of disappear. And unless they're going to come back as a major person, I don't see the point of them animating that. But I feel like this is heading towards a climax in the manga. I'd be surprised if season 4 isn't the last. Because we're getting there. Yeah. We're getting to some pretty epic levels. I give it 8 Titan punches out of 10.
That last episode just takes you right back to the beginning. It is incredible. Can't say more. Just watch it. 10 smiling Titans out of 10.
Oh yeah, that little Easter egg.
I've been.
You don't even know what that Easter egg is, so you will find that out later.
I've been sticking with this series since the beginning, and I've just been, rocked by it. 10 tremendous feels out of 10. This is exceptionally written.
Now, the last one. It's a big one. People were very excited about this. One Punch Man Season 2.
Yes.
Now, it's Season 2. Need I really say more?
It is still bringing it. They is still delivering.
Now, Saitama is still being an amazing person.
Well...
I'm not gonna.
He's an average person with amazing abilities.
Yeah. So, One Punch Man. If you don't know what it's about, I'm not going to bother explaining Attack on Titan because there's far too much to explain.
Really
if you would like to see people fighting Titans, have a look at the Wikipedia entry. There's like 9 paragraphs on the synopsis to get you into it. One Punch Man, Saitama has basically trained his whole life to become a hero, and he was really weak. So then he just kept training. I think it was like 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats,
and a 10K run
every day.
And not allowed to use the air conditioner ever.
Yeah, he's accidentally became the strongest hero, but no one realizes it.
Yeah.
Because every single one of his fights ends with one punch.
Yeah, much to his disappointment. He's bored out of his mind. There's nothing he can find that can give him, the
competitive challenge.
Yeah.
You guys want to know something hilarious I saw on my way back from the city yesterday? I was on my phone browsing through Facebook, and a trailer has come up for a One Punch Man video game.
Oh, yeah. I meant to mention that in the news. So that is coming to PC, Xbox, and PS4 I think in October.
I don't understand. I don't get it. If you play as him, then...
One punch, it's over.
I don't get it.
The game's not going to have much of a challenge. You're going to be bored.
Is it going to be that his aim's really bad?
There was something...
No, it's just going to be that he needs to get to the shops to cash in his
vouchers.
It appears to be a fighting game. So... There was one comment which basically made me think, that checks out. So everyone else gets a health bar. He gets a boredom bar or a late bar. Basically, you hit him enough, he has to say, I'm bored. Or, oh no, I have to get to the shops quickly. It's...
Well, it greatly expands on Season 1, and it's got an overarching story focusing on the rise of the villain organization and introduces a lot of new characters.
Yeah, he's got a gaming buddy now.
He does. Number 1 hero, King.
King, yes. And look, the human never leaves this show.
No.
I love that.
No, it's great. So in this season, he does enter a fighting tournament because he wants to learn what martial arts are about and meet some pretty interesting people in there. However, I'm going to be honest. While I love this show, the pacing for this season hasn't been great.
No?
No. There's a lot more that could have happened with the time they've used. The fighting tournament Saitama was in has taken 8 episodes. This isn't Dragon Ball.
But maybe it is.
I was going to say, it kind of harkens back to how it was done in the old days of anime.
They used time of him talking to another nondescript character on the side of it. Like, that could be better used,
I feel like all of the
for something
vignettes...
we've only gotten, 18 episodes of, including the specials for the previous one, and 12 episodes now, you would hope they would pack more in. And while they did in the first couple of episodes, as soon as they started this tournament, I feel like it just dragged on. I just couldn't wait for it to be over so we could see Saitama go punch someone who deserved it.
Yeah, that's fair enough. But
don't get me wrong. Yeah. I still loved it.
Yeah.
I just want more.
Yeah.
I'm too used to the My Hero Academia churn out where you get 24 episodes and you're like, yes, okay, take time to do that character development. But at this point, I think I'm just going to return to reading the manga instead.
Cool.
Because I want to get that development. I want to know the story. And it's been, 4 years since the first season? I'm not waiting another 4.
Well,
that's just my stance.
I think that they will continue to deliver. We'll just have to wait and see what they do with the rest of it. I'm going to give it 9 vouchers out of 10.
9 discount vouchers out of 10.
8 sales at the shops out of 10.
I'm giving it 7 bad haircuts out of 10. More in particularly 7 bad wigs. So that is pretty much all of the big ones we've fully watched. We do have a couple of honourable and dishonourable mentions to talk about in a moment. But first, we've got another song by Romi. This one's probably going to get us trademark blocked.
They'll probably come after
You're
us.
tearing us apart, Romi.
This is
He's just too
the
good.
song, which is the second opening of Shield Hero. It's called Faith by Mad Kid. I think they're technically a boy band. But
Pretty much.
Well, I mean, if you watch the video clips, it's very boy band. But once again, Romi has managed to absolutely nail it.
Now or never, just write it out. Just write it out. Just write it out. Just write it out. Night sky reflects in my eyes. 光る星手を伸ばし迫る時間で滲んでゆく未来 But I want to be honest with myself. Come through, rhythm care 書いて作る scene Keep it real, 生きた歌詞残す masterpiece. Everybody betrayed me もう触れてくれた君の指 Everything betrays me 伝えらせても揺るがない何百回だって何百万回だって気づかされても忘れれば My faith 存在の証明いつだって myself I gotta make a change 歪んだ世界で足跡たどって恋にならない叫びを咲いて何百回だって何百万回だって I finally clean myself Now or never Just fight it out Just fight it out Just fight it out Just fight it out
Romi, mate.
He's a bit of all right, isn't
It's
he?
just a bit of all right.
Just a
My
tad.
God, like you.
Cheers,
I very rarely come across musicians that can absolutely nail a cover the way he does, and he does it all himself, every instrument.
That's awesome.
Like, we're used to hearing from musicians who, like people who have covered a song by doing just the vocal melody and someone else has done a composition for it, or anime song collab, who they all get together and record it in the individual parts and send it in. Romi is just a machine, and you should support him because he's got plenty of stuff on iTunes, and you can even listen to him on Spotify.
Link included in the description below.
Now, let's get into our honourable and dishonourable mentions. And we'll start at the top, After Lost, also known as Shometsu Toshi. I wanted to like it. I felt like it might have been a dark horse. And by dark horse, I mean it was the shadow of a horse and not actually there, unfortunately.
Shadow of a horse with no name.
Yeah. It could be a lot better than it is, and it probably stems from the fact that it originally comes from a mobile game about being a delivery guy. So, yeah. The story feels shallow, but they move it along so fast that you don't actually get a chance to question it. And I feel like what we've seen is... We've seen all this before. Like, you know... And I want to know what connects the girl Yuki with the events which rocked the world called Lost, but I don't have any more idea after 3 episodes what's going on.
I'm bored. I'm just bored.
I mean, this is based off a mobile game, let's remember. So.
Yeah. I mean, there are elements of time travel and parallel worlds in it, but they just gloss over the details. And that, for me, just doesn't do it. So I ended up dropping After Lost, and I think you guys did even earlier than I did.
Pretty much, yeah.
Then there's Robi Hachi. Now, I need to return to this.
Yeah, I feel like I need to return to it as well.
We only got one episode in and then we completely forgot about it.
I feel like it's something that just fell by the wayside, but I really do want to go back to it. I like these characters from what little I know about them.
Mm-hmm. However, while it's got a strong Space Dandy vibe, there's a lot of nonsensical moments and more escalation, which is... it just made me, when I was watching it, go, just get a bigger drill. We'll be fine. It'll be great.
And then suddenly mecha.
Yeah. It could be good. We've not watched enough to give it a solid review. We will come back to this another point. The banter was good.
Characters, yeah.
But we are once again basing off the first episode. And if reviews online are to be believed, kind of goes downhill. We'll see if that's the case. Make up our own mind from there. Kono Oto Tomare, The Sounds of Life. Now, we forgot about this one. And I wasn't too keen, but I was really surprised by the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I mean, I was kind of expecting something a bit softer. I kind of was
expecting like something like K-On! Or
and I mean, there's a bit of K-On! There as well because they're going they're going to pick up their members as they go.
Yeah.
It's not like particularly hard or dark. It's just you get hit with the realism hammer a little.
It's heavy on the drama part of the music drama genre. I mean, it's not light and simple drama like you find in K-On! Or other light music style shows.
In a nutshell, the school's Koto Club has only one member left and faces disbandment. And I think what it's going to be is like at the end of episode 1, we have one more member.
Yeah.
With
episode
a few
2, maybe
tidbits. Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be episodic.
The interactions of Takazo, who's the only remaining member of the club, everyone else has graduated, and Chika, who is the first guy to join, who's
his thug friend.
The misunderstood thug.
It's pretty much My Hero Academia's Midoriya and Kachan if Kachan wanted to be friends.
That's aggressively wanted to be friends.
I really want to be your friend.
You know what this actually reminded me of? Hinomaru Sumo.
Oh, yes.
It's another school club facing
disbandment,
strife.
Which is literally every school club anime.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Except for the ones where they're the council.
Except for Haruhi Suzumiya.
Well, yeah, that's she would literally will the
different.
club into existence if they said no anyway. So
we're going to probably get back to that in a later episode.
Yeah, we should actually probably we do obviously try and bring episodes that relate to what's currently going on and so forth. But I do think we need to do a deep dive.
Yeah, I think we should discuss Harui.
Absolutely.
Now, Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba. Now,
I liked this. I am liking it so far. I'm actually really enjoying it because there's.
I was expecting pure shonen.
Yeah.
And I did get some pretty good shonen. It was probably the most anticipated new show of this season, actually. There's a very strong shonen fan base for it.
Heavily advertised. This looked like it was going to be a big golden child. But that is the thing. It is shonen. It is everything you have seen before. It is katanas to the max. It is just all this sort of thing.
But there is something a little bit different that I can't put my finger on yet.
It's somehow the elements, these like done before has-been elements have been brought together in a particular style, which makes it somewhat compelling.
You watch it and you go, while this has all the elements of Naruto and One Piece and Bleach, it's none of them.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Golden Kamuy.
Yeah.
In its execution.
We haven't watched as much of this as we wanted. I think only about 2 or 3 episodes.
I had to get used to the massive eyes the characters have.
Yeah.
That was actually easy, to be honest. I love the clothes they're wearing, the way their environments are animated, and it just stops short of going real proper dark.
It does. Now, this, we should probably note, is rated R. And the quick synopsis, Tanjiro Kamado returns home from selling charcoal in the village to find his family have been killed by demons. One demon in particular. His sister Nezuko is the sole survivor of the incident, and she has been bitten and turned into a demon, but still seems to have human emotions and behavior. So he embarks on his path to become a demon hunter. He has a very good nose, which, considering they burn charcoal, is a bit of an odd trait to have. I imagine it would be pretty full of smoke. But this has been a manga which started in 2016. So you think, okay, so it's got maybe 2.5 years under its belt. It's in Weekly Shonen Jump, which means it's now up to 180 odd chapters because it's had a chapter
into another One Piece. I'll be a little bit upset.
So as I said, we didn't get to watch it as much as we'd like, but we'll get back to that with a proper rating once we do finish it. I know, Kenny, you were a bit skeptical on this because you've been burned by shonen shows before.
I
can't blame you.
Came from. I was a Bleach fan way back in the day. It was the one thing that really drew me into anime properly.
It's not as much fun as drinking it.
I will give the show its due. It is good to its fan base.
It is.
But I'm not
all right
anymore.
These two fill me with dread. And I'm going to have to retract some comments on one of them because I ended up watching the rest of it. Kono yo no hate de koi wo utwa shoujo yuno.
You what?
That whole
You know.
You know.
Yeah. So it's an anime with the words no in the capitals in the title. And I originally was going to say all I can say to this is no. I had a lot of problems with it when we watched that first episode.
Okay.
And this afternoon I watched the last 5 minutes, which we didn't get to. It actually it handled parallel dimension jumps quite good. There is a strong fan base for this because it was based on a visual novel. And I felt like that was artificially inflating its figures as far as its rating. But I might be wrong. I mean, I immediately got the deja vu vibe of every visual novel adaptation that I've seen. However, I think I need to give it a bigger look. I need to actually give it the solid try because it seems like there might be a lot more at play here as long as they do it in a sequential order. As long as they don't follow the trope of visual novels where they try to cram in multiple story routes from the visual novel by going back to the beginning. The moment they do that, they'll lose me. But if they have it in a sequential order where he goes to a parallel universe and finds his mother, and then which is what happens at the end of the first episode, and then he goes on and finds someone else he needs to save and brings them with him as a party returning to the original home. Then if it's sort of like Sliders, I'll be cool with that. And there is a bit of a Sliders vibe to it.
Sliders, that takes me
yeah.
back.
So, a visual novel.
Yes.
It says here it was a visual novel adventure game.
Yes. So visual novel adventure game, VN
I want
for
to
sure.
know more. I've never
And
actually
it's not because we've seen like dating sims and stuff like that. They tend to be the ones that are mostly in the visual novel franchise these days. But this one kind of dates back to before they became super ecchi. Now there was one adaptation of this done, which was basically pure H material, and everyone who's played the game, who's went and weighed in on it for a review, came in wanting to see the story actually adapted and were very disappointed by the interpretation of the whole story, saying the characters were nothing like they were in the VN.
Okay.
So I'm going to give it the try, and if it's good, you will hear about it again. If you don't, well, there's your answer.
Let us know how it goes. I'll
Now,
probably watch it later.
Back onto my
Oh dear, what's this one?
rage to educate America on the philosopher.
Oh.
Wise man's grandchild. And you know how I was saying earlier about literal translations not being right?
Yes.
That's the literal translation. So use the actual translation. Philosopher's grandson. It makes more bloody sense.
Not that he's, angry about this or something.
No, not at all. It seemed a bit interesting to start with, and it quickly fell into that cliche isekai and magic school trope. And I have no interest. I wanted it to be good, but...
I want to keep with it just to see if it, jumps out of that magical school rut. I'll see how it goes. I'll let you know. I'll report back.
You report back. Okay.
I'll listen to your reports back.
Cool. Well, that pretty much wraps up all of the shows we've had a chance to actually check out this season.
Basically.
There are others that we didn't get time to watch or just kind of didn't fit our personal tastes.
I mean, kind of as it says in the sting, no, we didn't watch them all.
There's too many.
The thing about the anime world is there is just so much out there. There is something that'll appeal to everyone's taste these days. It's
and I mean, if you want to
niches.
watch this season's Beyblade, by all means go for it, but you're not going to get me interested. I've experienced that once in childhood, and never again am I going to get caught into a phase of getting things out of chip packets and throwing them at other people's things out of chip packets.
Oh
Unless they bring back
They used to come in
Pogs.
chip packets,
Yeah, they did. They had the Tarzos.
Actually, you know what I really liked? Oddbods.
Oh,
They were great.
Oddbods,
I had
yeah.
heaps.
Very Australian. Moving right along.
Kawaii-Fi Radio.
And that's another show done and dusted at Kawaii-Fi Radio. We'll be back in a fortnight with, obviously, the new anime season.
Oh dear.
And it's the summer season, and it's scorching hot, except for Down Under, where it's soaking wet.
And I'm going to read the news.
Okay, you can read the news, Coco.
Thank
We will let you read the news.
And inspired by Senryu Girl, I'm going to continue practicing my poetry.
Oh, we've got another good one here, have we?
Mm-hmm.
Give me a... Hit me.
Fool! Have you not heard? I am Sakamoto-san. Cool, cooler, coolest.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Love that anime.
That is another topic we will have to discuss. Sakamoto Desuka, which is
yeah.
I Am
Brilliant.
Sakamoto. Very good show.
Haven't you
Now,
heard?
next episode, as we said, is going to be all about the new anime season. There are a lot of big animes getting released this summer. Continuing shows, highly anticipated shows, award-winning mangas being converted into shows. There is a lot to dive through. We'll try and kind of filter in the stuff which we know will be good and won't be the same generic buddy card fight, which I don't understand how that is still going. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! A knockoff of Yu-Gi-Oh! Which is in itself a knockoff of something else.
I haven't been blessed with the experience of watching Yu-Gi-Oh!
You can just watch it abridged. It's much better than the actual show.
Not to insult the fans of these shows, but yeah, even later seasons start to feel like knockoffs of the original.
On that note, actually, a horrifying thing happened at the in the US to do with Yu-Gi-Oh! Card games.
Oh no.
They had to implement a scent rule. If you are too smelly in the venue, you will be evicted.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, and they don't mean that as in you're farting a lot, as in your body odor. You haven't washed in days. If you have to be told to clean your clothes, you probably shouldn't be going out in public, buddy.
Yeah, wash yourselves, people.
Mm-hmm. So in between now and then, we'll be back in a fortnight's time. Make sure you check out some of the anime that we've been talking about if you can, and please do have a look in our links description for all the people who have performed their lovely covers for this show. They really put in amazing work, and we're so lucky that they agreed to let us use their content.
Thank you so
Anime
much.
music is fantastic, but when talented artists have a passion for it as well, oof, almost even better.
Mm-hmm. It helps out, especially with their revenue, if you can watch one of their videos and, put up with an ad or two. And, from there, we'll watch some anime and enjoy yourself. Catch you next time.
Bye.
Ta.